Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Open Mic number 98. We'll be at 100 here before you know it. If this takes as long as, well, hopefully we'll finish up tonight with what we've been discussing, which is the subject is Jody Stakowski and the many events that law enforcement had with her. And I should have known better than thinking that I could get through all of it the other night. But, you know, it was a thought. But it doesn't matter. It's fine. There's a lot to get through, so it's fine that we do spread this over a couple episodes. So we're going to be starting on our document 9, and there's 21 or 22, but, you know, like I said before, a lot of these are short. So anyway, we'll get to those here shortly. I've also got a recording. It's been up for a couple of months now. It's property tag 14923. It's the interview Jody did on September 13th, 2006 with Wiegert and Fassbender and her lawyer. We're going to be listening to some of that. We're going to get to that interview in the order and in the documentation, and we'll listen to some of it. And I'm not going to listen to all of it because I think that one's 30 or 40 minutes long. We won't listen to all of it. Probably skip through some of it and till we get towards the end, and just some of the interesting things that Wiegert and Fassbender said, which I think are very relevant to what they were trying to do. And anyway, before we start, as always, let's introduce everyone and we'll say hi to everyone in the live chat. So first of all, Alice.
Hi panel, nice to see you. Hi everyone in chat. Lovely to see you all. Very cold here in Scotland, but nothing new there. So looking forward to what we've got left to do.
Thank you, Alice. And Susan.
Hello, everyone. I'm just waking up from a nap, so I'm still a little groggy, but I'm here. Glad you're here too.
Naps are underrated.
Oh, yeah, they're good stuff.
And Christina, how are you today?
Hi, everyone. I am well. I have been told that it's going to be in the 30s here day after tomorrow, so I'm not looking forward to that.
I imagine not, because that's like sub-zero for us.
Yeah, us Floridians don't do well below 60.
I guess not. When it's been 100 degrees for months and it dropped like that, that's crazy. Yeah. Well, hopefully it won't last long, and then you'll be back into the 70s and 80s. So anyway, let's greet everyone that's in the live chat that's joined. Who do we have here? Let's start right here. We've got Donna, and we have Allie's Softball Life, Mystic Jinxie. There's Catnip. I thought you were going to do the intro today. She ran out. Or Darkside. Darkside's threatening to do it too. And that's our 2 super mods. So y'all behave. They'll climb up your butt. Hey, there's Pete.
If you get Darkside to do an intro, I'll buy you both pizza.
She said. No, I don't want no pineapple. You keep that shit off there. That goes in a fruit salad. Sorry. But I will take the pizza. But she said something about maybe around Christmas she would maybe give me a Christmas present. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I can second that, Jack. She said round about Christmas she'll do an intro, so we're going to hold you to it, Darkside.
Yeah, that'll be my present from Santa Claus. Anyway, we got Pete Moss, and we have Phaedrix Amorax. Thanks for coming. There's Lady Neverly. She's probably operating on someone right now, some kind of Johnson surgery. I won't say the other. She's probably laughing. Rhonda SD, thanks for coming. Jennifer Madding, as always. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Who else we have? I see Shane Henry. Thanks for coming. And Ian Rose. Nan's live.
Virginia.
Yep, West Virginia. I haven't seen Andy yet. And that Andy.
Sherry Lynn.
Yep, Sherilyn Pontillo. She's here. There's Gloria.
Paul Ward.
Yep, Paul Ward and Gloria is here.
Yep, Gloria. And I think that's us got everyone so far.
I haven't seen Andy yet. And I will say that...
He's there. Yes, he's there. He's in his Catalyst studio. He's there. Hi, Andy. And there's our new member, Veronica. Hello, Veronica. Yep. Nice to see you back with us tonight.
From France. Woohoo. That's all right. Yeah. Katniss. Yeah, Katniss said Andy's here. The recording that we're going to be listening to later, this interview, Andy ran it through his Wizard sound machine and cleaned it up. I'll skip through and scan through it, and it is a better quality than what's on YouTube. I mean, the one that's on YouTube is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's got some hiss and artifacts and stuff, and he cleaned it up, and it's really good. So we'll be listening to that, and we can't thank him enough for him taking his time to do that. He's a busy man, and he's got his own things to do. So we really appreciate him doing that. So let me get over here to some documents, and we'll get this show started. Yeah, we're going to be starting on document 9. I guess it would help if I turned it so everyone could see it. Duh. There we go. So this is this one took place on November 29th. And remember, this was not the only interview that happened that day. Scott Taddick also gave his second interview to the DCI on the 20th. Susan, do you feel up to reading this one? It's just a one-pager.
Sure, Jack. Let's see. Interview of Tony M. Sciortino, November 29th of 2005 by investigator John Dettering. On Tuesday, 11/29/05 at 11:33 hours, DCI Special Agent Deb Strauss and I, Dettering, did interview the following individual at the Manitowoc County Jail. Tony M. Sciortino, date of birth 10/20/80, 723, 732 South 21st Street in Manitowoc. Sciortino states she came into jail on the date Stephen Avery was arrested, and she believes Jody Stakowski does not talk too much about Stephen Avery's incarceration because, quote unquote, it hurts. Sciortino states she never actually met Stephen Avery. She states Sciortino's mother did take the vehicle Sciortino's mother owned to the Avery's auto salvage facility at one time. Sciortino states she cannot give any observations as to how Stakowski is reacting due to the fact she did not see Stakowski before Stephen was arrested. Sciortino indicates Stakowski is not close to anyone in the jail and further indicated Stakowski, quote unquote, may be talking, but not to me. Our interview with Sciortino ended at 11:41 hours. Investigation continues. John Dettering, Calumet County Sheriff's Department.
It's interesting. Here we are at this point. This is the 29th, so they're basically 25 days into their investigation, and this is already the 9th report. And there's actually more. Remember, Manitowoc talked to her first on the 5th, and we don't have a thing on that. No recording, no report. So we have no idea what was said. Not really. We don't. Okay. And again, if you guys remember from the other night, they were talking to not only Jody, they were talking to anyone that was even associated with Jody. as you'll see, there's more. All right, let's move on to my document number 10.
Can I just say this? Imagine being Jody. All right, you're in jail. They just arrested Stephen, a man you were on the phone with twice the night they're claiming he murdered this woman. And now they're pulling women who you don't even know. This woman didn't go to the jail, wasn't even arrested until the day Stephen was arrested.
That's right.
And they're pulling her in, asking her questions. She's going back, saying, yo, all they want to talk about is you, what you know, what you're saying. What is Jody thinking at this point?
That's right. Absolutely. I guess in some fashion, because there's a lot of times not much to do in jail, and that someone may enjoy that, getting that attention, something to do, but at some point the light bulb's got to go off in your head, and you're thinking, well, what the hell they want all this from me? Because I wasn't even fucking there.
I think they interviewed everybody that was in jail with her.
They did. And
the whole entire pod. Yeah, I think so.
And not only that, they talked to other people too, as we'll get to. So this next one,
she was in jail.
Yes.
They listened to every call, every visit. I guess she went out with Stephen on Tuesdays. I guess that was time away from any recording, but come on.
Well, yeah, that was for her Huber thing, but it was basically take her there and bring her back. They couldn't deviate because I'm sure they timed them.
Did they? Yeah. Wait. Is it official? We know for a fact that he checked her out the day after.
Oh no, I don't know about that. Now you talking about on the first? I don't think. Yeah. I don't think so.
I think they canceled her deal that day.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
Too. So they're interviewing everyone Jody knows, knowing that Jody has not been alone with Stephen in a non-recorded environment, right? Visits are recorded, phone calls are recorded.
Yeah,
they know that Jody was not on the property where they're claiming Teresa was abducted from. I mean, all this is to get her to stop being loyal to him, right?
Isolate Stephen further.
That's it. They want her on their team.
Absolutely. And this,
they want to know if she dissed him to any of these women, said anything bad about him.
That's right.
I'm sure.
And we're not even a month into the investigation, and they're going hard.
And let's also remember, supposedly, this is still an active, open missing persons murder investigation, right? And yet we have all these reports about Stephen and Stephen's people. And if we're lucky, maybe 5 interviews with people that knew Teresa. It makes 0 sense.
Very few. 2 of them were Scott and Ryan. So, and then you have people in her family, and then you had Kelly Plitzkin, Jolene. Jolene Bain, is that her name?
Yeah, and these aren't even people who spent time with her in the days leading up. To get the most accurate idea of what happened to your victim, you want to know what they were doing in the days prior to.
That's right.
Their disappearance, right?
You start at that tiny circle and move out.
That's right. And we don't have that here.
No, we do not.
It's so weird.
No, but we certainly have it around Jody. So anyway, this next one, again, there's several of these that happened on the 29th. And I'll read this one. This is an interview of Michelle Smits, 11/29/05, John Dettering. On Tuesday, 11/29, at 11:45 hours, DCI Special Agent Deb Strauss and I, Dettering, did interview the following individual concerning this matter. Michelle L. Smith, and she was born in 1972. Michelle Smith stated that she had been incarcerated at the Manitowoc County Jail since 11/22/05. So she just literally got there. She stated that she was incarcerated in March of 2005 with Jodi and does not get along with her with her. She stated in March 2005 she and Jodi were housed together during a 90-day period. Smith stated Joy Ayotte is close to Jodi. Close to Jodi. Smith indicated a friend of hers named Suzanne Stachowski is currently housed at Sheboygan County Jail, and Smith indicated Sunshine knows Stephen Avery, and Avery used to babysit Sunshine. Smith indicated that Stakowski does not say anything to her, just watches the news on TV. Smith indicated Stakowski does not have any reaction when she sees Avery on the TV. Smith indicated an inmate named Jessica Miller stated Stephen was going to throw a blow dryer into the bathtub with Jodi in it. Smith indicated that back in March 2005, Stakowski cried a lot and argued a lot with Stephen. Smith indicated there was no mention by Stakowski of Stephen being physical with her. Investigation continued. John Detry. Interesting. And this one's got, we have to go to the DCI report, which is 162. Again, this is another one on the 29th. And this is an interview of Jodi, which we do not have a recording of. Anyway, DCI 162. This is a 4-page report. I look like probably 3 pages of read. And typical people listed here. There's nothing listed about a recording being submitted into evidence. So I'm going to take it for granted there's not one. Doesn't mean there's not, but typically they list it. Alice, you feel like reading something tonight?
Yeah, I can read some. Yep.
Well, if you want to read this one, you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. On Tuesday, November 29th, 2005, at approximately 12:20 p.m., Deborah K. Stratz and Calumet County investigator John Dieter interviewed Jodi M. Stachowski, date of birth 9/11/1969. This interview was conducted in an interview room of the Manitowoc County Jail, where Stachowski is currently an inmate. The purpose of this interview was to obtain clarification of the information Stachowski had previously provided to the officers regarding her relationship with Stephen Avery. The purpose of this report, the Averys will be referred to by their first names. Stachowski provided the following information. Stachowski acknowledged she and Stephen had gotten into 2 or 3 fights where Stephen hit her. In one of those instances, Stephen gave Stachowski a black eye. Stachowski was asked to provide the specifics about the fights she and Stephen had, such as why they were fighting or what Stephen did to hit her, and Stachowski said she could not recall, but it was so long ago because it was so long ago. That's
or maybe
bullshit.
because she was too drunk.
Yeah,
which is very, very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Susan. It's either she was too drunk to remember, or it never happened. You know,
It never
I'm sure
happened.
I'm sure you'd know if you got a punch or a slap in the kisser. You know what I mean? No matter who's saying it. So
Yeah.
Stachowski was asked what she was thinking at the moment during the interview. Stachowski responded she was, quote unquote, confused, pissed off, and hurt. When asked why, Stachowski said she didn't know. Stachowski was mad about all this, quote unquote, bullshit because he didn't do it. Stakowski acknowledged that on one occasion during August 2005, Steve choked her. Stachowski said that she and Stephen were fighting. Stephen had accused Stachowski of drinking. Stephen was so mad at her, he began choking her. Stachowski was asked what made Stephen stop choking her, and Stachowski said he stopped on his own. Stachowski was asked if Steve choked her until she lost consciousness, and Stachowski said he did not. While Stephen was choking her, Stachowski was not afraid Stephen was going to hurt her. What? Instead, she was worried about Steve's temper. Well, does that not go hand in hand?
Good thing.
Yeah. Stachowski was asked how she could not be afraid of Stephen when she was worried about his temper. Stachowski responded his temper had gotten better, quote unquote.
Alice, if you just want to call her Jody, because her last name's kind of a pain in the ass to pronounce, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
another thing, Strauss is writing this report in the narrative, and to me, again, I can't prove it, but it's like she's got a lot of detail in here for someone that just came to visit and didn't record the conversation, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like that there's a recording. I just do. But anyway.
Yeah, there's got to be, Jack. You know what I mean? Because 1 minute, why is she must have been asked the questions about violence or whatever towards her. So he strangled her because she was drinking and had her by the throat, but yet she's no scared of him.
Yep.
But yet she's scared of his temper. Well, I mean, surely the temper and grabbing by the throat and everything like that all coincides with each other, because he's angry, so he's got a temper, and because he's in that angry temper, he's grabbed her by the throat. But then she says it doesn't happen.
Little contradictory.
Yeah, definitely. A little contradictory. Jodi was asked if Stephen was a controlling person. She said she didn't know. Jodi was asked if she would be happier if she had a job, and she said she would. Jodi admitted that Stephen did not want her to get a job because he was jealous of the people she may be working with. Stephen would tell Jodi that if she wanted to work, she could work in the junkyard with him. Jodi explained Steve had been, quote unquote, changing, and he was not as controlling as he used to be. Steve had gone from someone who had been bossed around for 18 years and thought that was how it was supposed to be, to someone who was trying to consider another person's point of view. Jodi was asked if Stephen had bossed around his brothers Chuck Avery and Errol Avery. Jodi says he did not. It was pointed out that Steve didn't boss or control everyone else, but it did seem as if Steve tried to control her. But she just said that he wasn't controlling. You know what I mean? Oh my God, man. Jodi said it did appear that way. Jodi was once again asked to talk about the night when she came home from the races and Steve got mad at her for drinking and he hit her. Jodi says Steve was mad at Jodi for going to the races because she lied to him. Jodi initially told Steve she was not going to go to the races, but she later changed her mind and decided to go. Jodi was asked if she lied to Steve or if she changed her mind about going to the races, and Jodi said she changed her mind. Jodi was asked what she and Steve thought about when she got home from the races, and Jodi says she could not recall the specifics. Jodi said she came home and Steve asked her who she saw. Jodi told him who she saw, including her ex-boyfriend, even though she did not talk to him. Jodi said she probably started complaining about, quote unquote, that little bitch Marie. that is when Steve became mad and hit her. Jodi was asked if she thought Steve had sex with Marie, and Jodi said she did. She said Steve even told her he did. Jodi was asked if it upset her that Steve was sleeping with Marie, his niece, and Jodi said it did. Jodi said Steve justified the relationship with Marie by saying Marie is not a blood relative. Jodi said one of the nights Steve hit her was after she returned home from the races. The other time was when she and Steve were at the cabin in Crivets. During both of these arguments, Jodi had been drinking and she brought up Steve's relationship, his niece Marie. Jodi was asked what she thought Steve was going to do with his settlement money, if he should receive it. Jodi said she thought he would pay back Rolly Johnston. Steve owed Johnston because Johnston gave Steve some money for his lawyers. Jodi never asked Steve what these lawyers were for because she did not think it was any of her business. Jodi also thought Steve would give some of this money to his mum and dad, Dolores and Alan. Avery. When Jodi was asked if she thought Steve would stay with her, Jodi said he would. Jodi was asked if she thought Steve would continue to see Marie, and she said he would not. Jodi does not have a very good relationship with her mother. Jodi said her relationship with Steve's parents, Dolores and Alan, are more like her mother and father. Jodi believes her relationship with Dolores and Alan is so good that if Jodi started to say she thought Steve was guilty of killing Hallback, they would still be supportive of her. Jodi did not know if Steve's brother Errol was still working at the junkyard. It may be possible Errol is not working at the junkyard right now because he supported his wife, Candy, when she said she thought Steve was guilty. Jodi thought Errol may not work at the junkyard because he didn't want to face his mother. Jodi was asked what Dolores was like if she was angry, and Jodi responded she did not know because she had never seen Dolores angry. Jodi said she did not know what to believe about the accusations against Steve. Jodi was asked what it would take for Jodi to acknowledge Steve may have killed Hallback. Jodi said she did not know. She just knows he is not capable of committing such a crime because he can't stand the sight of blood. Jodi was asked if Steve was a deer hunter, and Jodi said he was. Jodi was asked who cleans Steve's deer if he gets one while hunting, and Jodi says she did not know. Jodi said Steve does not like blood and he gets sick when the dog bleeds. Jodi also said Steve will not have sex with her when she has her period. Jodi was asked if there were any instances where Steve has forced her to do something she did not want to do. Jodi said in one instance, Steve made her go to the cabin up north when she did not want to go. Jodi said she did not want to go because her friend Rolly Johnston coming. Jodi could not recall why she ended up going to the cabin in Crivets. She just recalls she did not want to go. Jodi said she has not talked to Rolly Johnston since she went to jail. This is because the last time Jodi was in jail, Johnston told Steve that Jodi was only using him for his money. Jodi said this was not true because Jodi really loves Steve. Jodi is not in this relationship because of his money, because Steve does not have any, and it is possible he may never get any. Jodi said the only time she can remember Dolores going to the cabin in Crivets was for the 4th of July and Thanksgiving. Jodi could not recall any other times Dolores went there. Jodi did not think Dolores liked going to the cabin. Jodi indicated it is possible she did not leave Steve because she was afraid of his temper if she left. However, the main reason she did not leave him was because she still loved him. Jodi said Steve has gotten better at controlling his temper. For example, he did not hit her in between the time she got out of jail in March 2005 and when she went back to jail in August 2005. Jodi was asked if it was accurate to state Steve hit her 3 times between when she first started dating Steve in May 2004 through November 2004. Jodi said it was. Jodi was asked if she knew anything about Steve's relationship with his ex-wife, and she says she did not. Jodi was asked what she thought Steve would do if, when Hallback came to Steve's house on October 31st, 2005, Steve did something Hallback considered inappropriate, and Hallback threatened to go to the police. Jodi responded this was not happen because Steve would never do anything inappropriate. Jodi had no additional information and the interview concluded at 1:32.
Thank you, Alice.
Well,
Yeah.
she was trying to put stuff in her mouth, wasn't she?
Wasn't she? Well,
Jesus.
and again, this seems like a really detailed report for something that wasn't recorded. I could be wrong. I just trying to think about talking to someone and trying to capture all those, because she gave a lot of detail. It wasn't just like a general overall. This was some pretty.
And why wouldn't she record it? I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I think they're planting seeds, right? They're giving her ideas of what she can claim.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
the next interview, she'll say, well, she tried to do this, or he tried to accost Teresa. And you know what I mean? They're planting seeds of ideas for her to get an idea of what they're wanting to hear.
Uh-huh. I agree.
Well, and she says several times, I can't remember if it's in this series up to this point, but she said several times in 2006 he never hit her. She said that.
That one line where she said, Jodi said that it could be possible that she wouldn't leave Steve because of his temper, but she said she didn't leave him because she loved him.
Correct.
I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, it's just so contradictory the way all the way through it. I mean, and the one that gets me the most is that he had her by the throat, but she wasn't frightened, but she was frightened of his temper. So which is it? You know what I mean? You're either frightened or you're not frightened. It's one or the other. You know what I mean? Especially if he's got you by the throat, and then she's turning around and saying, "No, it never happened." It's like, what?
Yeah.
So we've got
I
a
see.
few homes in the chat. We've got TTM Fangirl who's joined us. Katniss joined us.
Jinxie has joined us in here.
Yeah,
Hey.
Jinxie's in chat. They're on panel.
Hey,
Hey,
Okay.
Jinx.
Sorry I was late. I had to have dinner.
No problem.
Did you bring enough for
Taco
the
Tuesday.
Hey, did
Yeah,
you bring
you
enough?
want some tacos?
Yeah, you got to bring enough for the entire
ma'am.
class. If you come in talking about bringing dinner, I haven't
I ate
eaten
'em
yet.
all.
Oh, damn it. Oh,
We
well.
have lovely TTM.
Especially Spanish food. You have to share. It's my favorite.
TTM's my neighbor. She just lives up the road from me. Well, it's more than up the road, but it's not that far. Go ahead.
We've got Moss Call. Moss has joined us. Hi,
Hey, Moss.
Moss.
We've got Kelly McKillian. Kelly McKillian.
Kelly.
Your internet wife is here.
Nosy. Miss Nosy.
Oh.
Joined us.
I won't do the cat call, but damn. And my internet wife.
And we have Cher as well. Cher's joined us.
Wow.
And Jamie. Jamie's joined us as well. So hello to everyone that's no long joined us. Sorry we didn't get to you sooner, but as you can see, we've been busy reading this rubbish.
Did you say that license plate's here?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. We really appreciate it. With that said, Where are we at here? Yeah, this thing with Strauss, she's really heavily involved. And again, I'm probably going to ask for the DCI for this recording. I've asked for others. I asked for the one on the 5th, but I was told I don't have no such recording exists, which really irritates me. No report and no recording, but they wouldn't talk to her.
Did you ask Calumet County for these recordings, or did you ask DCI?
Well, for November 5th, I asked Manitowoc.
Okay. And what about the other one?
And then there's another one that I asked Calumet County. I may have asked on one of them. I may have asked the DCI, but I think for especially this one, it's a 4-page report. I mean, to me, there should be a recording, and I'm gonna send a request to Paul.
I would, because she's DCI. She might not have mentioned that she made a copy, but there is one.
It's possible. It's very possible. Anyway, so we go from November 29th here. As you can see, we're at the first of the year. This is January 19th, 2006. And Susan, you feel like reading this one?
Sure. Let's see. We got another Jodi interview, January 1906, from John Dettering once again. On Thursday, 1/19/06 at 10:37 hours, Investigator Baldwin and I, Dettering, did interview Jody Stakowski, previously mentioned in this report, regarding this matter. The interview took place at the Manitowoc County Jail, where Stakowski is still incarcerated. Previously mentioned in this report, it just started with the hell. Anyway. In this interview, Jody did state that Stephen Avery is a controlling individual. I asked Jody if she ever stood up for herself and told Stephen no, and she stated the only time she had ever told Stephen no was when she wanted to attend the stock car races, and he told her she could not. She stated at that time he came home at about the same time she did. They fought and argued, and he choked her. I asked Jody if she had ever watched pornography on DirecTV with Stephen, and she stated he would watch pornography, but she would sleep. She stated there were no discussions of any sexual threesomes. Jody did state she believes Stephen will remain in the area if he is released on bond. Jody once again stated Stephen told her that Stephen had sex with his niece, Marie, at least twice. She stated these are the times Stephen told Jody about. Jody believes Stephen was using the relationship between Jody and Stephen as cover for his relationship with Marie. Jody indicated she does not believe Stephen now has any feelings toward Marie. Investigator Baldwin and I did show Jody some correspondence between Deb Klemp and Stephen Avery. Deb, they're calling her Deb.
Yeah.
The letters were of a romantic nature, and some of the letters were graphic in their sexual content. Jody did become angry about these letters, stating that some of the words Stephen wrote to Deb were actually words that Jody had written to Stephen. Jody requested copies of the letters. She was told that we would look into her request. The interview terminated at 11:20, and these were the only items we learned that might have been new. Investigation continues. This one there's a video of. Right?
No, not this one.
This one has a video.
No, not this one. No. We don't have January. We don't have anything for.
She's in prison, so they're taking her to that room, basically, where she had her other interviews on the couch, like.
Right.
I assume.
Correct.
So why aren't there any videos of those?
Well, that's a damn good question because they had the equipment right there available, I'm sure. But I find it really interesting that they're showing her correspondence between Stephen and Deb. Is that legal?
Does anyone else think
Sure.
that the comment Jody said, these are things that she wrote to Stephen?
Yeah.
Do you think they're forging letters?
Well, I wouldn't be so. I hate to say that I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. I think Jody's trying to tell us that when she said these are words that she wrote to Stephen. They took her. I think that they forged those letters to try and, just like how they played those calls where Stephen really doesn't say anything inappropriate, right? When Debbie's professing, oh, I love you, oh, well, whatever. He's like, all right, yeah, you know how Stephen is on the phone.
Right.
Just kind
There
of
were
non-committal.
there were some calls though with Debbie Clamp that Stephen did say he loved her.
There were,
But
yes.
but other
But he
than
did
the words
he was
"I
lying.
love
He
you,"
didn't.
right? Other
Yeah.
than the words "I love you," is he talking dirty to her like he talked to Jody in any call?
They did talk dirty in some calls.
A little bit,
Okay,
yeah. And
Who
there was
initiated it?
Debbie.
Debbie initiated
hmm
Oh yeah.
I think
it.
I think Stephen was stringing her along just to see what the hell was going on.
Well, I think he
Right?
was.
Why is
I
this
think he was.
woman?
I think he's bored too.
Yeah. Why is this woman wanting to talk to me? Two, I'm in solitary. She'll take my call. So, of course, I'm going to call her. Everyone else is complaining about the money that's costing to talk to me. And
Yeah, and
yeah, I
this
think
is
you're
all.
right.
This is also a good catch, and you paused here at the top, as previously mentioned in this report. Well, the report just freaking started. I don't really understand what Devering's talking
Regarding
about.
this matter.
Yeah,
I don't either.
yeah, that's really
Mhm.
strange. I
So,
don't
you
know.
know what's interesting
Oh,
about
it took
that is there is a page in queso. Jinx might know the exact one. I want to say it's like page 247 or 3 something, and it's a sheet of paper and it's inserted and it says from this point on all
Yeah,
reports are transcribed, right? Or whatever. You know what page I'm talking about?
I remember it. I don't remember the page number. I'm assuming like
Yeah.
it's
I think
around.
you're right. It's
Like,
somewhere around 247 or something.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say
And
it's been
so
somewhere two
basically
to 300. I can't remember.
What that is that is removing the officer who wrote the report from any factual errors by saying someone else is copying it. But it's also, to us, it's saying someone has gone through each report and only put what we need to know, what they deem we need to know in it, right?
Yeah.
They are altering, editing, and and filtering the information. Just a
Well,
thought.
278, by the way.
and I think that they're always days, if not weeks behind in word reports getting generated, notes getting handed in to whoever the hell's doing the transcription, and I think it created other problems. Well, I know it did, but yeah, absolutely. The case of report, there's so much that's wrong. So there's some truth to what you're saying. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. It's kind of like the RAV, when we talk about the hood latch, and the only touch DNA that's on there is Stevens. Well, come on, the other people opened that damn hood. There had to be more DNA than just Stevens. Had to be, but I digress. This report here, Susan. This is the one we have the interview for, and this is the one we're going to play some of this one of Andy's excellent recording. This was on February 15th. So here we are about a month later after this Dettering and Baldwin interview. And in this one, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to play any of this one. I apologize. We're going to play some of the one in September.
Just a quick one from Kelly McCallion.
Yeah.
She says, I think he talked to Debbie because Debbie seemed to be doing things for him, like writing letters to Congress, senators, and didn't Debbie try to raise money for a lawyer via some newspaper ads?
And to the KKK
and wherever. Yeah. She did do some. But the introduction of Debbie into this whole mix. I mean, to me, I don't know. Maybe I'm too jaded and too biased, but it almost seemed like that she was put up to do this. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But why would she? I don't. Who was it who talked about this selling out? Murder groupies. You know, these people that are attracted to this kind of thing, the notoriety.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll read this one. I think this is just a one-pager. This is a re-interview of Jody Stachowski on February 15th, 2006. On 2006, investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with investigator Wendy Baldwin, went to the Manitowoc County Jail to interview Jodi Stachowski. We met with Jody in an interview room on the second floor of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. I asked Jody to tell me again what Stephen Avery had told her in reference to his sexual contact with Marie Avery. Jody stated that she had already told us everything and reiterated that it happened twice, that she had told up north and at Barb's house. Jody stated that Stephen had told her when he and Marie went up north, he had sex with Marie, and Marie's mother, Candy, had almost walked in on them. Jody could not be any more specific as to where up north. However, she believes it would be at their property, meaning the Avery property in Marinette County. Jody stated Stephen had told her this because they had been having a fight, and he had said it out of anger. I asked Jody how Stephen had put it to her, and Jody stated Stephen just said he fucked her. Jody also stated that Stephen had told her that she had sex with Marie at Barbara, that he had had sex with Marie at Barbara's house on one occasion. According to Jody, she has never spoken to Marie about the sexual contact. Jody did state that Stephen had told her that Marie had initiated the sexual contact. At that point, we thanked Jody for her cooperation, and the interview was ended, and Jody was taken back to the Manitowoc County Jail. Mark Wiegert. And well, we know there's more to this because there was an interview with Wiegert and Baldwin, and I'm pretty sure in that one they also played some calls for Jody to anger her further. In that, I'm sure they did. I know they did. Anyway, it's in the playlist if you want to watch it. I'm not going to play any of that one.
Note the date. This is not long before they went after Brendan.
That's right. This is 2 days, I think, after they settled. The lawsuit was settled with Stephen settled his lawsuit. Okay, and then 5 days later, here we are. We don't have anything on this one. There's no recording of this one at all. So this is a 3-pager. Susan, you want to read this?
Sure. Let's see, it's number which? 13?
This is number 14.
Oh, oops. Let me get there. Okay. Interview of Jodi Stachowski, February 20th, 06, at 16:10 hours with Wiegert. On 2/20/06 at approximately 16:10 hours, I, Investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Investigator Baldwin, went to the Manitowoc County Jail to again speak with Jodi Stachowski. Upon arrival, Jodi was removed from the jail and taken up to the second floor investigators' interview area. I informed Jodi I wanted to talk to her again about her relationship with Stephen Avery. Jodi stated to me she had met Stephen at the end of May or the beginning of June in 2004. She stated it would have been approximately 9 months after Stephen had gotten out of prison. She stated when she met him, she started dating him right away. Jodi stated things were great at first, and they mostly stayed at home and goofed around outside. Jodi stated things started going bad when she first found out about Stephen's relationship with Marie. She believed that to be around September of 2004. Jodi states she had overheard Stephen and Marie talking on the phone. Jodi states initially she let it go for a couple of days. The next thing that happened was that Stephen had left one day and never came home at night. Stephen had told Jodi he was busy pulling transmissions out of cars. Jodi stated she knew that was not true because he would not stay overnight because he was pulling out transmissions somewhere. Jodi got very angry with Stephen, at which time Stephen stated he was sleeping with Marie in Crivets. At that point, Jodi told Stephen to pack his bags and she kicked him out of the house. According to Jodi, a fight then ensued and Stephen grabbed a shirt and ripped it. Jodi stated she was holding on to the shirt and Stephen grabbed at it and then also backhanded her in the jaw. He then left the house and started packing his stuff into the ice shanty where he was going to go live. I asked Jodi if she could be more specific about the date when this happened, to which she stated she could not. The second time they had gotten into an altercation, according to Jodi, was when she had gone to the races with some friends. She stated she went to the races with a person by the name of Tammy Weber. According to Jodi, Stephen had gone up north at that time and had come home. Jodi stated they had an argument and then Tammy Weber brought her back to her and Stephen's house. Jodi states she walked into the trailer and looked around the house to make sure Stephen was not there. Jodi states while she was walking around her house, her cell phone rang. When she answered the cell phone, it was Stephen, and Stephen asked Jodi what she was wearing. Jodi stated immediately she knew that Stephen was somewhere in the area. Jodi stated she said to Stephen, "I know you're looking at me." Jodi then turned around and he was standing there looking at her. At that point, Jodi stated they started arguing. She stated Stephen was mad at her because she had been drinking. At that time, he came up and pushed her, and she fell backward into a chair. Jodi then told Stephen she was going to call the cops, and Stephen told her to go ahead and call the cops. There was nothing that we could do to him. Jodi then stated she, in fact, did call the police. Stephen then came up to Jodi in front of her and began choking her, placing both of his hands around Jodi's neck. Stephen choked Jodi until she blacked out. Jodi states she remembers blacking out because she remembers falling to her knees. Jodi stated when she came to, she was lying on the floor and he was trying to drag her out the front door of the trailer. Jodi states she eventually got up to her feet and Stephen grabbed her by her sweatshirt and dragged her over to his truck, which he forced her to get into. According to Jodi, they then drove out of the driveway and went down 147, and that is when the police had pulled them over and Stephen got arrested. Again, Jodi was not sure of the dates of this occurrence. Well, that'd be easy to track. Jodi said the last incident occurred in spring of '05 when they had gone to Crivets. Jodi states they were all out in the woods and she and Stephen's dad, Alan, snuck away and went back to the cabin to have a few beers. When they came back to where they were working in the woods, she was chewing gum or sucking on candy. She did not remember which. Jodi states Stephen noticed she was chewing gum or sucking on candy and confronted her about having been gone and drinking. Jodi stated she admitted to him that she had gone with his father and had a few beers, at which time Stephen slapped her across the face with an open hand. I asked Jodi what she did then. She stated she just walked away. Jodi stated on one occasion that he had smashed her cell phone while they were up north because she had changed her mind and did not want to go ice fishing with him. I asked her when that was. She stated she could not exactly remember. I questioned Jodi on what type of jeans she wears. She states she wears Levi's as well as Lee jeans and St. John's Bay jeans. She states she shops at JCPenney and Walmart. I asked her if she ever owned a pair of Daisy Fuentes jeans, to which Jodi said she did not. She stated she never shops at Kohl's where the Daisy Fuentes jeans are sold. She did tell me she had previously burned clothes in the burn pit area. However, again, she would not have burned any Dassey Fuentes jeans. I asked Jodi if she had burned anything in the burn barrel on the property. She states she, in fact, had burned some clothes in the burn barrel along with other garbage. Jodi denied burning any type of cell phone. She also denied burning any type of camera in the burn barrel. I again just reaffirmed with her if she had ever burned any Dassey Fuentes jeans, to which she stated, "I've never owned any Dassey Fuentes jeans. I don't like Dassey Fuentes." At that time, we thanked Jodi for her cooperation and ended the interview. Investigation continues. Mark Laggert.
Wow. Well, they're really after them jeans, aren't they? Holy shit.
Jesus.
Well, they asked her.
How many times did they ask her that?
What do you think they would have done had she said, "Yeah, I wear Dassey Fuentes"?
Oh my God, they would have flipped. They would have flipped the hell out. It would have had to been some Levi's jeans, or not Levi's, but some other brand. Oh dear.
Wasn't there more than just Dassey Fuentes rivets in that pit? But there was like only one or two from Dassey Fuentes.
Seemed like there was some Wranglers. Yeah, it seemed like they were Wranglers. I don't remember what they were. Yeah, there's a lot of photos of the rivets though.
So how do they explain the other rivets then? Are those Jodi's rivets or what?
I don't think they even broached the subject. They just let that alone. And this next one, this is number 15. All right, here we are. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, almost 5 months later. This is 2/27, and what day is 2/27? As we all know, this is the day they went. They went yanked Brendan out of school, or went and interviewed him, then got yanked out of school, taken down to the Two Rivers Police Department, re-interviewed again, and then took Barb and Brendan, and then eventually Blaine to Box Hills. Mm-hmm. The 2/27 was a busy day, it looks like. This is a receipt of correspondence from Jody Stakowski, and this is a good one here. 2/27 by Dettering, one-page correspondence from Jody. On Monday, 2/27/06, I, Dettering, did receive an envelope from the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department addressed to Calumet County Sheriff's Department, Detective Division, care of John Dettering. This envelope had been transported from the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department by Deputy Rogers. The envelope contained a Manitowoc County jail request form from Jody Stachowski. I addressed to the jail administration. On the request form was written, quote, "I prefer not to have any more detectives visit me in regards to Stephen Avery. I want to decline all visits upon release. I'm under way too much stress at this time and really need this, please. Thank you," end quote. This is signed by Jodi Stachowski, dated 2/24/06. The envelope, along with the correspondence, can be found in the incorporated into the exhibit section of this incident. John Dettering. So she's tired of it at this point.
Why didn't she do that from the very freaking beginning?
Well, that's a damn good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is number 15. So let me close this off here for a moment. You guys can chat if you wish, and I'll pull up some more.
They did bug the hell out of her.
Oh my God. 15 reports, and here we are. Still got a year to go to get the trial.
Yeah. And what have they found out about anything since they started interviewing her? 15
nothing.
Exactly.
He got pissed at her when she drank, pretty much.
Yeah, that's a pretty.
I don't know if she was instigating any of those fights that she was having with him. Being
right, she was drunk. Yeah, she's the one that said she brought up Marie, and that's what started the fights every time.
First off, there were no fights, right? At first, there were no fights. There were no problems. He had never abused her. He had never done anything to her. Then they bring in the allegations that Stephen had messed with Marie, and then they bring up Debbie. And then they just keep harassing her, bringing her out, bringing her friends out, bugging her, bugging her, bugging her. And that's when she starts feeding them little tidbits, right? It's disgusting how they did this to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still here. I've got them open, but they're all out of order. Damn it.
You know what else they heard back on February 27th, 06, which is actually put later in the queso?
What's that?
They got the forensic evidence back from Newhouse or whoever it was. I think it was Newhouse who was the bullet.
Oh, that's one of your favorites. And Rhonda and Neverly was Newhouse. Oh my God, that guy.
They stuck it in the report like several pages in the middle of March, but it's dated for the 27th of February, the day they go after Brendan and want him to say, you know, they were trying to get him to say that she was shot in the head for what, 3 or 4 days by that time that he said it, by the time they bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
So what does Newhouse state on the 27th? That the skull fragments had bullet holes in them?
His is that the whatever, the 10 shells or whatever did come from the gun. And then they found out also right before they talked to Brendan that she was supposedly shot in the head. And if they don't have a bullet at this point, remember, they have to go back in to get a bullet.
Right.
So what they have are the 10 or 11 shells that were found around the garage that are from, you know, Avery's gun over his bed.
No.
You know.
Right.
And then they go after Brendan that morning.
So what they have are some shell casings to a 22, of which 3 are on the property.
Yep.
And Newhouse gives a terrible report. If one looks into it, the report is shoddy as all get out, saying that yes, these empty shell casings that are all over the Avery property came from a 22.
Right.
Okay.
You know, his 22. They make sure to say it's the one, you know, that they collected from
the gun above Avery's bed, the one they left there for 3 days, right?
I don't think they left it there for 3 days. I think they collected that kind of quickly. We don't actually see it. We don't actually, there's like one picture that I've seen, and it's like, it's not even of the gun rack that is in the bedroom on the 5th, that I think we see just a small part of the gun actually sitting in the gun rack before they took it on the 5th. There's actually, after that, you don't see the gun ever. Like, I've never seen a clear picture of these guns in the rack at all.
No. And also, what I meant by that was they left that gun hanging above Avery's bed on the 3rd, on the 4th. And
well, they had nothing on those days. She was just a missing person at that point. So yeah, they left it there, and then they took it on the 5th, I think.
Right. So on the 3rd, when they search his house, they see there's a gun there. So now they have a way to say he killed her.
Here's the thing that bothers me is they take his gun from above the bed, which is actually Raleigh Johnson's gun, from over the bed, and then they're looking for bullets and guns and that kind of thing that may be helpful in a murder, right? But yet when they go into the garage that first time, they basically just look for shells. They didn't look for any bullet fragments or any bullets. Like,
nope.
One of the bullet fragments that they found, there's 2 of them in the garage that they find in March. One is FL and that we know of, and FK was the other one. And that was like simply sitting in a crack that they walked over
right there.
How many times that was sitting next to a shell 2 feet away from it, yet they did not find this bullet back in November. So when they're actively looking for that kind of evidence. So that you know, those magic bullets are, I think there's 2 magic bullets. I think one fell from the siding of the garage with the red paint on it, and they were like, woo, an extra one. And they planted one, I think. And
Absolutely.
Of course, they planted the DNA.
Absolutely.
The
No doubt.
non-blood DNA. Non-blood
The
DNA.
nuclear cell or whatever.
Nuclear cells.
Non-blood DNA.
Non-blood, no dust on the
And
bullet DNA.
didn't Kratz slip and say that she was shot in the vagina? Not to gross people out.
What?
No,
think, yeah,
that was that Joseph. I can't remember the snitch guy that Cam entered.
Okay, I'm sorry. They fed a snitch that she was shot in the
Well, that's all he could.
The female's private parts area. I just find that an interesting place to say she was shot when we have non-blood DNA, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's all that guy could talk about was her private parts. I mean,
Plus,
come on.
they have no proof she was shot anywhere else other than the 2 holes in the head.
I don't have any
That's
proof.
right.
That was not even part of the case or anything. They wouldn't. How would they be able to tell that unless like it rubbed on a bone in that area or something?
And if we want to go one step further, those skull fragments haven't been DNA confirmed to even belong to her, much less human. They only tested what is it, item BZ or something, and
that's right, BZ. That's right, BZ. That's correct.
And also, the snitch. What was his name? Joseph.
Evans.
Evans. The Evans letter. That's right.
So let's talk about Joseph Evans for just 30 seconds. Joseph Evans committed a murder in Crivets, of all places, was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. And then he was shipped to prison 4 weeks later due to overcrowding that can't be verified. He is brought to the Manitowoc County Jail as a life sentence prisoner to serve his time, and he's there for like 2 months. And I guess this is when he
with Stephen. The only person ever put in was Stephen.
Yeah, and then
time.
Yep, and then
he was never in Manitowoc.
Yeah, he was.
Oh no, that wasn't Evans. That no.
That
was Orville.
Orville, yeah.
No, I have Joseph Evans' mugshot, arrest report. I have it all. Joseph Evans most definitely was in Manitowoc County Jail.
I'm saying Avery was not in jail with Evans in Manitowoc because Stephen was never in Manitowoc. Stephen wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but I just know that Joseph Evans, as a state prisoner, was relocated to the Manitowoc County Jail, not to face charges due to prison overcrowding. Confesses that Stephen Avery confessed to him, I guess. And then goes back to prison to serve the rest of his life sentence. Yeah. I just find that odd.
Right.
Well, it's another Manitowoc miracle, right?
Yep.
Bingo.
All right. Well, continuing. I finally got these loaded. I apologize for the delay, but this is number 16.
Strauss's haircut.
This is number 16, and again, we don't have any audio or video of this interview. This is another interview of Jodi. Or did we read this?
I don't think so.
We did not. This is 4-3.
After she got out of jail. And she had asked in that letter to be left alone.
That's right.
After she got out.
That's right. Good catch. You want to read this one right quick, Susan?
Sure. Interview of Jodi, April 3rd, 06 by Wiegert. On April 3, 06 at approximately 15:30 hours, I, Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, met with Jodi in the investigator's office at the Sheriff's Department. I asked Jodi about the whereabouts of a digital camera, which had been used at Stephen's trailer to take pictures, which we had recovered during search warrants. Jodi indicated the camera would have been in Mrs. Avery's, which would be Dolores's possession. Jodi states the camera was there while both she and Stephen were incarcerated. I asked Jodi if she could describe the bed, which was located in Stephen's bedroom, to me. Jodi stated it was a pillow-top mattress seafoam green in color with flowers on it. I asked Jodi if she ever had any plastic or anything covering the mattress, to which she stated she did not. She stated the box springs was a ratty yellow and brown color. Gross. I also asked Jodi if on 10/31/05 she was aware if Stephen had made any phone calls for her to his psychological associates in Madison, Wisconsin. Jodi stated she was not aware of any type of phone calls made on her behalf to any type of psychological associates or any other counseling. That was the end of my conversation with Jodi. At that time, both Jodi and Charles Avery did go with Deputy Hawkins in order to take possession of a golf cart and Stephen Avery's car. It should be noted those items were released to Jodi and Charles by Deputy Hawkins.
Yeah,
So
remember
does
Go
that
ahead.
mean Jodi drove home?
Uh,
She didn't have a license.
no, I don't know. I just remember, if you guys remember, there's a jail visit that Jodi went up there, and he's mad as hell because
Oh
she's
yeah.
hanging around with Chuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they would have had two vehicles.
Yep. Unless somebody dropped him off there. That's right. And she also got her purse as well. He didn't leave it. He didn't put it in the report, but they wouldn't release her purse to anyone else.
Well, how else are they getting the golf cart home anyway?
Well, that's right. That would
Flatbed.
have been on the
Yeah.
flatbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But then how does the Grand Am get home?
She drove it.
Oh, maybe they both went on the flatbed.
That's
Both could've gone
possible.
on the flatbed.
Yeah.
In
There you
fact,
go.
I don't think
the flatbed
so.
was big enough for a car and
Yeah.
and a
Oh
golf
yeah.
cart.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There'd been plenty of
Yeah.
room for both. Absolutely.
That makes
I
sense.
don't know about that.
Oh yeah. There'd been plenty of room.
Yeah.
That's
The
a
car's what, 10, 12 foot? Flatbeds are normally like 15.
It's a tow yard. They probably have equipment ready to pull more than one car at a time.
I think that's an 18-foot flatbed. I think that's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
but the golf cart's a good 8. I'd have to see that to say that's possible. Just being around heavy equipment my whole life, I just don't. I think that would. I mean, hey, I'm not putting them past it. If they could get them on there, they probably would. But I think the golf cart would have been hanging off the back.
Yeah, but maybe one was on the actual flatbed and the other one was getting towed behind.
Yeah,
Possible.
That's possible too. Yeah.
Not that it really matters, except unless Jodi drove.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I do find that interesting. That's the only reason why I'm wondering. Would they have let her drive out of there since she's saying what they want to hear? I mean, is that why she's starting to turn? Because they're not harassing her at every turn? And did y'all also catch that they knew about the camera, but yet they didn't collect it? Why would you not collect? I've always found that so
But they
odd.
did eventually collect that camera.
Eventually, yeah. Almost a year later.
Eventually, yeah.
It comes up again in the interview we're going.
This is from April, you said? Don't they pick
That
it up
one?
in what,
Yeah.
September, something like that?
I think they pick it up in August.
No, it was September, October, I think. Maybe
So
September.
they let that camera float around for a year. I find that very odd.
Yeah, it
Very
is.
odd.
Okay, this one, we do have the interview of this one. And Alice, you want to read this? This is just a one-pager.
Yep, sure, no problem. Interview of Jodi, 8/31/06 at 10:30 a.m. Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. Investigator Liger. On 8/31/06, I, Investigator Mark Liger of Calumet County Sheriff's Department, went to the Manitowoc County Jail at approximately 10:20 a.m. I did go into the lobby of the jail. Pardon me. It's approximately 3 minutes after arriving in the lobby of the jail. I observed a female that is known to me by the name of Jodi Stachowski walking out of the secure portion of the jail and the lobby. When Jodi walked out, she immediately recognised me and said, quote, "I suppose you're here to talk to me," unquote. At that time, Jodi and I both walked outside. I asked Jodi if she had a few minutes, if she would be willing to talk to me. Jodi then requested that I provide her with a cigarette, which I did. Jodi then stated she had a few minutes but could not talk long because she had a ride waiting for her. I informed Jodi at that time that she was not under arrest and did not have to speak with me if she did not want to. Jodi indicated to me she understood this and still agreed to speak with me. While standing outside, I told Jodi that we would go up to the investigator area in the sheriff's department so that we could sit down and do the interview. Jodi agreed to go with me to the sheriff's department at the time. Upon arrival at the sheriff's department, I did meet with Jodi in an interview room which is audio and videotaped. Again, when I met with Jodi, I informed her that she was not under arrest, that she did not have to speak with me, and she could get up and leave at any time. Jodi indicated she understood this. The following will be a transcript of the video interview of Jodi.
You don't have to read. You don't have to read it. I clipped this one because we've got the interview. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I clipped it. So yeah, this interview is available. It's in the library. I'm sure a lot of people have already listened to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think again in this one, I can't remember if he played calls for her or not, but I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did actually. He played calls between Jodi and Debbie, and again, I think he said, think you have a right to know what's going on, blah blah, all that shit. Again, trying to anger her.
So why are these audio and video recorded, but not the other ones?
Don't know. It's a good question. Okay, then this is my number 18. This is monitoring of Avery jail phone calls on September 8th, 2000. And this is just a one-pager, it looks like. On 9/8, I Investigator Wiegert at the Calumet County Sheriff's Department was monitoring previously made phone calls from Stephen Avery, who is housed in D Block, cell number 1 in the Calumet County Jail. The phone call was made on 9/4/06 at 18:36 hours. It gives the phone number, to which would be Stephen's brother, Charles Avery. During the conversation between Stephen and Charles, Stephen states, quote, "She owes me money for the lawyer then," end quote. It should be noted that during the conversation, when Stephen said she is referring to Jody Stakowski, Stephen then makes the comment to Charles, quote, "Yeah, the check came from the firm, yeah, but it came out of my account," end quote. It should be noted, Stephen is referring to the money which is being paid to Jody Stakowski's lawyer, a Mr. Chewing. The conversation indicated the check for Mr. Chewing was from attorney Dean String's firm.
So?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, they're still really into, chasing Jody. So then we move into 9/13, and this is the one we're going to listen to some of. No, I'm sorry, this is not it, but it still happened on this day. Before we get to, let me see here. Let me look at something. Yeah, okay. There is no report that I could find, and I don't think I missed it. I was pretty thorough. There is no specific report about the recording that happened on 9/13, which is interesting. I can't answer as to why. I just know that there's not. So let me get get this recording flipped over here. We're going to listen. We're certainly not going to listen to all of it, but we're going to listen to some. Turn this off. There we go. Now, about a week earlier, Fassbender and Wiegert, I think it was on 9/8. There's another recording, an audio recording, where they had went to talk to Jodi, and she said she didn't really want to talk to him without her lawyer. So he gave her basically a deadline, Wiegert did, during that recording. So another meeting has been arranged, and this is the result of that. This is a 47-minute interview. We're going to listen to some of it, just some of the key elements here, and just to see.
What was the date? The date of it, Jack?
This is 9/13/2006, same date as this report. The Sandra Barth, I'm pretty sure, is Jodi's mother.
Mother, yeah.
Yes, that's correct. So I think they talked to the mother after they talked to Jodi. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is the version that Wizard Andy B cleaned up for us. It's a really good, clear recording. So let's listen to a few minutes of it, and I probably will pause it as we go and discuss and go from there. All right, here we go. Oh, if you're in Discord, you're going to have to unmute YouTube.
You on board? I am on. All right. Joy, just a few things before we start asking you any questions. Okay, you are here represented by your attorney, and we understand that. Okay. Reason I'm saying it is I want it on the tape, obviously. You're not the target of an investigation. Okay. We're not here to get you in any trouble. You're not in any trouble with us. You're not under arrest for anything. No matter what you tell us, you're not going to be in trouble.
And while we're on the record here too, I did speak with Ken Kratz about that, and a condition that we spoke of was that in terms of what could possibly happen to you, Jodi, as a result of this, is that he was willing to grant complete immunity, whether use immunity or transaction immunity. And you and I spoke about this before we went on the tape here, but just to let you clear, what these fellows are telling you is exactly true. Okay. Even if you say something today that would in some way incriminate you for some offense that may have occurred in the past or is occurring now, you will not be prosecuted for that.
Okay.
And in the event that that would happen, then your statement could not be used.
Okay.
They promised not to prosecute. So please, for my sake as well as theirs, make sure that you tell them everything, and everything you say needs to be true.
Okay.
It's a condition of that agreement that you must provide truthful information, not just what you think they must.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any questions of me before we go ahead?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, if you do as we go along, you just let me know.
Okay.
And I'll just reiterate that it's got to be the truth. Okay. Because I know we've talked several times before.
I'm going to pause it right here just for a second and reiterate again this strangeness to me. It's strange that Kratz would extend her immunity over, I don't know what. I don't know what could have come out of her.
I'll tell you what.
Okay.
She was not supposed to be talking or visiting with Stephen. So she may have seen him or something that she's going to tell them a story. Well, I saw Stephen and he said this way she would not go to jail again. Because didn't she get put in jail for just waving at him in a car driving by?
Smiling or something.
Smiling.
Yeah, it was literally nothing.
That might have to do with that a little bit, maybe.
Well, I mean, that's potential. That's potential, yeah.
I haven't thought of that. Otherwise, I can't imagine what she could be incriminated for.
Unless they
Other than that.
unless they caught her driving and we don't know about it and they're holding it over her head.
Like her driving the car out of the lot over there in Calumet County.
or anywhere, yeah, absolutely.
And then let me ask you, who is the other officer? It's Weaver and who? Who's doing the interview again?
Fassbender, and then her lawyer.
Her lawyer.
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but
Tuning.
Yeah, that's right. Tuning. That's right. So they're the ones that's in this room, and they're at her place. They went to her place to do this interview. Again, and there's no report. There's no case or report about this. So anyway, now all right, let's listen to a little bit more. And basically, Wiegert's going to talk for a minute, but he's actually going to kind of turn it over to. He does interject, but throughout. But it really gets turned over to Fassbender. And allegedly now, remember, Fassbender only met her a week ago, which, again, I found this really strange. As much as I've been after her ass, and he's just now meeting her, 10 months later, it's weird. Anyway, let's listen to a little bit.
Jodi, and I know some of the things you told me weren't exactly the truth, or a different version of the truth, if you will.
Or not everything.
So, and I mean, you left some things out.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here for today, okay? I'm going to kind of turn it over to Tom now. I'll probably interject here and there, but Tom's got a bunch of questions that we'd like to run by you, okay?
Yeah, and to reiterate or add to that, now's the time. No better time to tell everything because you got nothing to lose. Okay, the last time, and like I said, it's not that I'm going to ask you questions all the time, Mark. I'll ask some and I'll ask some, but I'd like to start out with what we talked about last time, in that you've made comments numerous times to Steven, to Chucky, to whoever, usually over the phone, that you basically could fuck Steven.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean, and I've got a report here that has the transcript type stuff in it, but I don't think I need to even show you that. We'd like you to elaborate on that if you could, please.
Well, I knew the phone conversations were being recorded, and I was sick of him hurting me. I wanted him to worry that I'd hurt him.
When we briefly talked the last time, you had said, I had said to you that you had made the comment that you could bury him, and I said to you that you know a lot more than you're telling us, and you kind of laughed and grinned and said, "Yeah, I do." So
the only things I know is how our relationship was. I don't know anything about the case or anything because I wasn't around.
Well, tell us those things then. I mean, talk about your relationship and what it was like.
It wasn't bad. It was a normal relationship. We had our ups and downs, and he treated me good. We argued. He had a temper. He'd go in the garage and work on cars or break something if he got mad at me. And
well, you kind of told me the last time about the prior abuse.
Mm-hmm.
The one time especially when he choked you so you passed out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my follow-up questions to that was, did he ever threaten to kill you? And you said, you smiled again and said, I don't want to answer that until my attorney's present.
Yeah.
Did he ever threaten to kill you?
No, he didn't.
Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Why wouldn't you tell me that the last time?
I don't know. So I want my lawyer present? I don't know.
You want your lawyer present so you could tell us that he never threatened to kill you? Does that make sense to you?
None of this makes sense to me. I don't, I just want to be left out of it.
And we're doing our best to do that. But we have information through phone calls, through people you've told, through places where I'm not going to tell you how I know, that you have information that could help this case, that could help I'll be honest with you, help put Steve away.
I'll pause it again here, and I want you to notice something in this psychological little game. They're demanding that they be truthful with her, but he's not going to tell her how he knows this other information. I can lie to you or withhold from you, but you got to tell me every fucking thing you know, or even add to it and make it worse for Steven.
She played them.
Help us put them away, is what
Yeah.
it
She
said.
was getting sick
She
of them.
played them.
Coming
She
and talking
played
to
them.
her. She so played them, Christina. She's so
Yeah. Yeah. She got her little devious smile and said, I'm not telling you what I know until my lawyer's present, because she wanted him. She was done. I don't know nothing. I'm tired of your games. They got all excited thinking they had outsmarted her, but she got them, whatever they were holding over her head, she got them to not be able to use it, and she didn't give them shit.
Nope.
Actually, I'm proud of her. Good for you, Jodi. Good for you.
She didn't give him anything. I just want to point that out, though, of how he just literally just did it. It hasn't been a minute and a half, and you got to be truthful with us. You got to tell us everything. But I'm going to withhold. I know stuff, but I'm going to withhold it from you. How I know it, It's
Yeah, exactly, Jack. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. The shit that these. Oh, I
And
mean,
we
we said this before. It's ridiculous how these buggers thought that they could hound this woman, because that's what they've done. They've hounded her and hounded her and hounded her. I mean, with him coming out there saying, oh, well, we've got phone calls, we've spoken to people, you know, and with him turning around and saying to her, well, why did you not tell us that before, when your lawyer wasn't present? And she was like, I don't know. No, she should have came out and told them right out, is because I know for a fact you would have twisted my fucking words to suit your narrative. That's why I'm sitting waiting for my lawyer to be here before answering any of these types of questions.
Point
Yep.
is
because I
she
want
didn't have to. She
immunity.
didn't have to answer any of their questions without her lawyer. So whether or
Yep.
not she wanted a lawyer for a certain question or not is irrelevant, because technically she could have had a lawyer for everything.
For
They
all
could
of them.
refuse to talk to them at all until she had a lawyer.
That's right.
That's right. That's her right. And
I want to know what
also,
information they think she has of this murder when she was in prison. She was in. She wasn't in. She was in county
and
jail. Okay, but you know, what did they think that she was going to be able to give them?
what, like, how many of us think that if they had information that they knew she had, it would be in a report, right? Jody's
Absolutely.
friend such and such said Jody said this about Stephen that he heard from a friend of Jody's sister's, brother's, cousin's, ex-wife's mail lady, right? Because those place are always full of bullshit. It's full of so-and-so said so-and-so one day saw so-and-so who thought they saw Stephen's friend who said that Stephen made him do it.
Right.
So if they had any other dirt, they'd have included it. That was
Absolutely.
a bluff, and she played them.
Exactly, Christina. About what you just said? You know what I mean? This whole case is built on hearsay, and it's the same hearsay that you can't use in an actual fucking court of law in some parts, because it's hearsay. Because somebody told somebody who told somebody who told somebody who then told somebody. But this last somebody is the one that's telling the truth.
And
You
I
know
think,
what I mean?
yeah, I think 80% of queso is so-and-so said so-and-so said so-and-so. I think if we actually did a count, it would be maybe not 80. I'd say half of it is supposedly one day somebody said they saw Stephen, right? Or 20 years ago, Stephen supposedly one day did this. That's what
And when they were saying something like Jolene Bain says Brad Check was harassing her or something, did they actually follow up on that? No. In fact, they talked to Brad Check and he says she's sleeping with Scott Bladorn. Do they follow up with that? No.
Do
Nope.
they record the interview? No.
No.
And that's a great point, because this investigation was into the disappearance of Teresa Halbach, but yet the entire file is let's slander Stephen Avery. You know what I mean? That's what 1,300 pages of queso is. There's very little about the victim.
It's haphazard when they record it. There's no rhyme or reason when they record things and when they don't. It's so strange that I don't know. I don't understand why some of these interviews don't seem to be. There's no audio recording of it, and others are. I don't get either. But
especially when she was in jail, when some of those interviews happened, they took her out of her jail cell to talk to her, and yet
that's right.
they still didn't record it.
That's right, and they had their.
I think they have recordings of all of it. Myself.
Oh yeah, they recorded Stephen with his attorneys. They recorded everything.
That would be my suspicion as well, but we'll see. We'll see if I get an official no on some of these other ones I'm going to request. So anyway, let's listen to a few more minutes of Uyghur Fassbender talk to her. All right, here we go.
Okay, for killing somebody, some innocent woman.
I don't see how I would have information about that, though.
I don't know. That's what we're here to find out.
We were told by a very good source that we needed to talk to you, that you had important information, not necessarily on our case with Stephen, but even your relationship with Stephen, how he treated you, what he did to you, stuff like that. You mentioned he had a temper. You've mentioned that the last time we were here, the one occasion where he strangled you till you passed out, and then you came to and he's dragging you out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got information that he also hit you on other occasions and battered you on other occasions. I'm using the battered word freely here. That doesn't mean that he beat you senseless.
Yeah.
But domestic battery type instances. We'd like to know those instances more about that stuff. We've got children going to their mothers saying, "Mom, could you help Jodi because Stephen hurts her so much or beats on her so much?"
Really?
I tend to believe children going to their mother asking them or mother to help you. I mean, how often did you get hit by Stephen?
The times I told you about up north, and when I was ripping his shirt, whenever I found out about him sleeping with Marie.
How did you find out about him sleeping with Marie?
He told me. And I sort of had a feeling because she'd call him every day, before school, after school, during school. He'd go and meet her in the park, wherever.
Just for the record, who is Marie?
Earl's daughter, his niece.
Should be his niece.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I found notes that she wrote him saying that she can't wait to be with him and she loves him and wants to marry him. And
Let's go back to the question I asked you before. Like I said, you need to be honest with me here because I don't see any reason in the world that you wouldn't answer a question without an attorney like I asked you if it was not true.
he's never threatened me.
Who did he threaten? Who did he threaten to kill?
I don't know. I can't really say for sure.
What do you think? I'm asking your opinion.
From what I heard from my girlfriend,
Okay.
that he threatened my mom.
Right here.
But I don't know how true that is because my mom's never said anything to me
Why would he threaten your mom?
because she was going to testify against me in court for my drunk driving.
So how would he have done that, over the phone or in
I have no idea. I guess.
What exactly did your girlfriend tell you?
Oh, God, I don't even remember.
When you say girlfriend, who is that?
Michelle
Last name?
Mueller. Mueller. I don't even remember what she said. He said to her.
Well, it had to be something about killing her.
I don't remember. I can.
What's your mom's name?
Sandy Barth,
Where's she live?
Manitowoc.
Is she in the phone book?
Yeah.
Do you have her phone number?
Yeah.
What is that?
920 682 2623.
So you want me to ask specific questions then?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
When's the last time you spoke with Stephen?
Whenever the snow contact was put on.
When's the last time he spoke to you?
Whenever the snow contact was. Oh no, I can't say that he tried calling my cell phone.
When?
Last time you guys were here. The same day.
That same day?
Yep.
He tried calling your cell phone.
Yep.
Okay, tell me about that.
I was getting ready for work. My phone rang. I answered it, and it says you have a collect call, and it was him on the other end saying, "Will you marry me soon?" And I hung up.
What'd you do after that, Amy?
I called my probation officer.
You gonna marry him?
No. I was planning on leaving him after I got out of jail.
You were?
Yeah. I was just trying to get all my shit out of there and get the car from him or the truck.
Saw the phone calls back and forth. That was just Nothing?
Yeah,
Where you tell him you love him and you need him and all that stuff?
I don't need him. All he ever did was bring me down.
And how did he bring you down? In what way did he bring you down?
He's always cutting me down, making me feel like shit. Tell me I'm no good, I don't do nothing, and
Do you think that's part of his controlling nature?
oh yeah. He's very controlling. I couldn't even call my mom or talk to my girlfriend of 18 years.
Steven telling you that you are to live with Ma until this is all over. Kind of a controlling
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
right? Wanted you where he could control you. Same thing with the pastor, I imagine. My opinion. Steven tells you he loves you and he wants you to obey.
I never heard that, but okay, I believe it.
You probably just don't remember it because it's basically verbatim right from a conversation
Is
you
it?
guys had. Yeah.
Maybe I don't remember.
Well, there are a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
I just wanted to read you some comments if you want to ask some
Wow.
questions. Sure, you can.
They're
also have
literally
some
feeding it to
letters that
her.
his other girlfriend sent him. I don't know if you're interested in looking at
I really don't
Okay.
care.
They really are. They're really they're really playing the gambit now. Now here we are. This is September of 06. So here we are 10 months later, right at it. Yeah, that'd be right. So November would be 12. So here they are 10 months later, still after her to flip. They've got this no contact order. I don't know how they did that, but I don't know how the justice system really works in that capacity, being on parole, that they can order you to stay away from a certain individual.
Well, if you're on probation or parole, you can go to jail for associating with a felon. At least in the state of Florida. Like if they want to arrest you, if you go to someone's house for whatever reason and the cops are called and that person, you're on probation and that person has a friend over who's a convicted felon, you can go to jail for violation of probation for associating with a known felon. Not that you knew they were a felon.
Interesting.
It's a nice little loophole. But I will still say that arrest where they passed each other on the street is bullshit.
Yeah, there's
she can't control where that cop drives the car. He was in jail.
There's it is, but there's a jail visit recording, and I can't remember if it was April or May, and there's a hearing coming up, and this is after she got out of jail, and they were talking about her coming to that hearing, and she's like, "No, I'm not going to risk it." So there was already something then. I'm not exactly sure when this order came down because I don't think we have that record, but there was something apparently said to her back then. So that would have been like 4 months earlier, 3-4 months earlier at least.
Yeah, because she was visiting him when she first got out.
That's right.
And then they found out that it was a felon and she was on probation and she can't talk to felons. So they used that against their relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was?
I guess so, yeah.
That's what I think it was. And because she's, when you're on probation, you're not supposed to be talking to other felons and stuff. And she's...
Right.
So they used that because, remember, they didn't have that on his record at first when they first looked him up and stuff, because all those records were from the 80s, right? From his, stealing sandwiches and beer, basically, was his felony, if I remember right.
Well, and Sandra Morris.
Yeah, Sandra Morris.
No, he got in trouble for having the gun because he wasn't supposed to have a gun with Sandra Morris either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was already a felon when that happened. So that was prior to that.
Well, there was this
robbing the liquor, the bars or whatever was his felony.
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. Him and some friends broke into a bar, stole some quarters and some cheese sandwiches and some beer. It was a closed bar. When they say robbery, it makes it sound like they held it up at gunpoint. They committed an act of vandalism.
More than once. It was more than once.
I think
Yeah,
the problem
they
was,
really they trashed the place really bad, as
I
I
don't
recall.
even think they did that. I think, honestly, if you read the report and then read the amount of damages claimed for the insurance, I think they highly inflated the damage done, because they tried to say there was like $20,000 worth of damage done to that car
Of course, they inflated
in
it.
1983.
All they did was break a window, if I remember right, to get in.
Yeah, and smack and pop open the quarters on the pool table, which if anyone's ever, Jerry ever shimmied the quarter thing to played 3 games of pool, it's not difficult. Yeah, I think because see, the guy who owned that bar was in a club. Sherry Lynn knows this info better than me, but was in a club with other known people. And I think that was when he started making the wrong people mad, because he was like I want to say the Rotary Club, or there was I don't know, but I think that's when he got on the radar. I don't know if it's as crazy as Dave Bacata makes it seem, but I don't say it isn't, because I've seen some crazy things in this case.
Absolutely. Hey, I'll see in the chat there that Becca has joined us. Hey, Becca, thanks for dropping by. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's listen to just a few more minutes of Wiegert and Fassbender going at her, because they're really getting into her now. Yeah, so you'll have to unmute. If you're in Discord, you'll have to unmute.
Okay. We talked again the day you got out of jail. Talked about some of the sex stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact you were not completely honest with me about some of that, because you told your probation agent one thing and you told me another thing. Okay.
I don't remember what I told her.
Okay. We were talking basically about how many times a day that you would have sex. Mm-hmm. And I forgot what you told me.
In the beginning, 5 or 6 times a day.
Okay. What you told your PO was that obviously you'd get sore after a while, and what you told your PO was that when you would say that to Steve, it seemed to turn him on. He wanted it more. That's what you told her.
I never said that to her.
That's what she told me.
She said the more it hurt, you said the more it hurt, the more it seemed to turn him on.
I never said that to her.
Pause it again just for a second. This goes back to the phone call back before they interviewed her at Manitowoc on the 5th of November. And this PO was desperately trying to get a hold of them and shared this information that Jodi allegedly told her. It was about the nephew and all this other stuff. I'm sure that this is part of that conversation, probably. And now she's saying, hey, I didn't say that. So,
do we have a report of the PO and the cops talking about this?
Got the phone call of her parole supervisor calling into Manitowoc. Absolutely. It's in the key calls list.
Right. So we have a call of the PO claiming that Jodi said these things about
not about the sex. I don't think that's in there, but certainly, they went on about Jodi's
what the call says is basically Jodi is really trying to get a hold of me. She would have been with him on Monday, and she's saying that Stephen's nephew knows that she left, right? That's what I took from the call you're speaking that occurred in November. When's this interview? When are they interviewing her right now?
This is September 13th, 2006.
Yeah, they've talked to her since then. Now they're claiming they have spoke to her again, or him. I think it's her. And this
I think it's a
PO
her.
is now claiming, this PO is now claiming Jodi has made these really awful things, said these really awful things about Stephen and their sex life, and there's no report.
Right. And I think
That's interesting.
Doc is exactly right. Crass is likely behind this sick questioning, and I totally agree.
Yeah, possibly. But, I mean, to be honest, I mean, these questions are so stupid.
They have
Now,
nothing to do with the case.
no, they've got nothing to do with it. They're fishing for rubbish, you know. So because Jodi has said to whoever, our fucking probation officer, our cellmate, or fucking whoever, that we used to go at it like rabbits 6 times a day. You know what I mean? Well, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not that old, and I do remember having sex when I was younger and stuff like that. And you could go a lot more and a lot longer when you were younger. But if you're gone 6 times a day and there's no much, of course you're going to get friggin' sore. You know what I mean? It's no,
Sure.
there's nothing dirty in that. There's nothing crass in it. There's nothing crude in it. If you're doing it 6 times a fucking day and you're not giving yourself enough time to recover, of course you're going to end up sore down there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
But
she might have enjoyed it. Let's be honest. She might have liked it a little rough. We don't know.
Exactly. But what I'm trying to say is that because she has said something along these lines, you know, it could have been something flippant. Oh my God, we were at it fucking 6 times a day, and by the end of it, I was fucking sore. You know what I mean? But they've tried to twist it and make it into something crude and vile. Yeah, and creepy and devious. You know what I mean? Also, you were sore, but he still wanted to try and have sex with you. You know, that sort of thing. And it's disgusting, the avenues that they have tried to go to try and make Stephen out to be the sexual fucking deviant, deprived fucking sex maniac or fucking whatever. You know what I mean?
And they're getting nowhere with that.
And she shot him down.
Yeah. Exactly.
She's even saying she don't want to marry him now, and she's still shooting them down. Which
That's right.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
This interview is really good. She really held her own and wouldn't give them shit. But they keep trying. Let's listen to a little bit.
Should be doing a report on that. That's where we get potentially have problems if you have to go to court and testify and you say stuff like that and someone else comes in and says, well, no, she said this.
I don't think I ever talked about sex with him to her.
Where the hell would she get that then?
I
We
don't
didn't
know.
tell her anything about sex.
If,
She brought it up to us.
if I was sore and I tell him to stop, he'd stop.
I don't know.
I don't see any reason the probation officer would lie to us, Jody.
I don't remember ever saying that to her.
So is that true or is that not true?
It's not true.
Okay. We also learned from people that when you were in jail, that when Steve would pick you up to go to your AODA classes, that sometimes you guys would stop off and have sex to or from.
Never happened.
Never happened.
Nope, he wanted to get me straight there and straight back so I wouldn't get in trouble. And it's not like I had a lot of time in between going
I
there.
understand that.
Hey guys, can we take a break just for a second?
Sure.
For a second?
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Back on the record.
I'm going to go over a few more things that we talked about previously here, okay? Jodi, it's pretty evident that you're not telling us the whole truth about everything you know, okay? I mean, from what people have told me, with people that have no reason to lie, okay? We've been told by a very reliable source that you have information that can help this case. I told you that earlier,
Yeah.
okay? And that's what we're looking for. I can sit here and fish all day and waste your time, waste your attorney's time, waste our time. If there's something that we need to know, come out and say it.
I don't have anything though that would help this case.
you got to keep in mind, you know, Steve is not your friend. He's not your
No, I know
boyfriend. This
he's
guy
not.
killed somebody. I don't know what proof I need to show you or what proof you'd like to see, what evidence you'd like to see for me to prove that to you. And I will show it to you. I don't care what you want to see. I'll show it to you. I'll show you every laboratory report.
I want to see it.
I'll show you her bones. Anything you want to see to convince you what this guy did to her. I know he's done more to you. I believe that he threatened to kill you and you don't want to say it for whatever reason.
He's never threatened me.
What other kind of information can you tell me that can help me that you've been telling people about?
I don't know what I've been telling people.
Well, let's go over a few more questions that we have here.
Just that he's an asshole and
There's things that are called other acts that can sometimes be used in court. And that's what we're kind of talking about here. You know, we're not saying you have direct knowledge of his act against Teresa, but there's other acts that he may have said or done to you that may relate to this case that the court may allow to use in the case in chief against him. For example, strangling you, hitting you, beating you, saying things to you, threatening you, stuff like that. If it happened, can be pretty good information or pretty good evidence as it relates to what he did.
mm-hmm.
I could see the court probably allowing that type of information because it directly relates to the, or somewhat directly relates to the act. So that's, that kind of stuff, I guess, if you're wondering what we're looking at, it's probably more that kind of stuff, and you said, you told us about the strangling incident, getting hit up north, getting hit when the Marie thing.
Yeah.
When you got hit up north, what was that? What did he do?
Slap me.
Slapped you in the face?
Yeah.
Just once, twice?
Yeah, just once.
Just
There was
once.
a bug on my face.
Because there was a bug on your face.
Yeah. So he said I didn't see it. I don't think anybody else did because
Were you guys having an argument?
he was mad because I was drinking.
Oh, so do you believe there's a bug on your face?
I don't know.
I'm not going to sit here and play this game, Jody. Okay, if that's what if there's a bug on your face, what it's like if somebody's gonna slap a bug off your face, okay? And you know the difference between a bug slap and somebody hauling off and whacking you across the face.
He didn't haul off and whack me.
Okay.
He slapped me, just slap. Didn't leave a mark or
My
nothing.
recollection of one of our interviews with you, you got into a little more detail than just a slap up north. There was an incident with him up north. He was mad because you were drinking with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little more than a slap that went on that day, from what I recall.
So we were arguing, and he slapped me, and me being the bitch I was when I was drinking, fell and made him feel bad. He didn't hit me. He didn't leave a mark. I don't remember if he left a mark. I don't know. It was so long ago.
The Jody thing, what did he do that time? Or the Marie thing?
I told him to get the hell out. You're a sick fucker, sleeping with your own niece. And I started throwing his clothes out of the dryer and out the back door, and I came across a shirt she bought, so I started ripping it, and he went to grab it, and I was pulling it, and his hand slipped and caught me in the chin.
We're in the previous interviews when you talked about these things, there was never mention about a bug. There was never mention about a slip. It was more in the heat of the moment he hit you. Now we've got this. Were you lying then?
No.
Trying to protect him, or
I might have been trying to protect him. I don't know.
Or are you trying to protect him now? Or
No. I could care less if he fries in hell.
Well, it is direct opposite of what he told us earlier. That's the problem we're having here. I mean, what do we believe from you?
What I'm telling you now.
That's what you've told me every time.
I know. Well,
I don't understand, Jody. I don't understand why you're protecting him. I
I'm
don't
not
understand.
trying to anymore.
Obviously, somebody has gotten to
has the
you.
pastor
Nobody's
talked to you
gotten
about this?
No.
Since we talked to you, did you tell her that we came and talked to you last Wednesday?
Yeah.
What'd she say about that?
I'll pray for you.
Say anything about that only the Lord can judge and that you shouldn't talk about this stuff and that people on earth can't judge?
No.
She says that a lot. I don't know if she says it to you, but she says it a lot.
I never heard her say the judge or the Lord judges or whatever.
Yeah, the only the Lord can judge people. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to pause it here. We're roughly half into this interview, and that's enough. I never intended to play, actually, probably even this much, but I want, because they were kind of on this roll. I listened to this earlier today as well before we went live, and it actually gets worse. They really come after again, even more, putting pressure on her to flip and say this or say that, and she won't do it. She absolutely will
And
not do it.
If she was going to condemn him, she would have done it now.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think even during this conversation, she may even said because she's mad at him. It's clear that she's pissed at him at this point right now.
Yeah, but she's being less incriminating than she ever has been
Oh, absolutely.
during this interview.
Absolutely. I agree.
When she supposedly said all that stuff about Steven slapping her and stuff from up north, that wasn't recorded, right? That was just what they wrote in their report, correct? Or was that one of the recorded calls or recorded interviews? Because they're saying, well, you said this last time, and she's like, well, maybe I did, or maybe I didn't. It's like she doesn't even know what she told them last time, and they could have just written down anything. Like it seems like they were doing that with other people. Just like it seems like they wrote down what they wanted to hear from Jody's probation officer. What was really said by the probation officer, that there was no sexual assaults ever with him, and they turned it into there were, like we don't know what they're, without the recordings, what was actually said, just what they said she said.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember what was said in the.
We just read that one. I don't think it was.
Well,
a recorded one.
The last one that is recorded is in February 15th. That is a video when she's still in jail, and I can't remember if she brings up that incident that happened after the race. She went to the races and he told her not to go. I can't remember if that's in there or not. I know that's the one with Wiegert and Baldwin, and they play some calls between Debbie and Steven, but I don't remember if that incident came up.
Yeah, but also I picked up on, and we've just read it. We've just no long read it. And I don't know who it is I can't remember if it's Dieterin that's wrote the report or if it's Liger that's wrote the report. But in one of the reports, it's got the bit about the shirt, but in the written report, it says that it's her shirt, that Steven ripped her shirt. But she just said in that interview about 20 minutes ago or so that it was his shirt. She says, when I grabbed his shirt and ripped his shirt.
Yeah, it's the shirt that she just talked about. It's the shirt that allegedly Marie bought for Steven. That's right.
Yeah, but in the report, Jack, whoever it is that's wrote it out, I've said that it was Jodi's shirt, not that it was Steven's shirt. So even in that report, they're trying to make Steven out to be a sexual deviant because he's grabbing her shirt and ripping her shirt off her. Yeah. That's how that came across. But in that interview just there, she said the incident when I grabbed his shirt and the shirt got ripped.
Yep. Well, and Jinx is right. There are several interviews that are not recorded. They could have written whatever they wanted, and nothing for some of them. At least the one on the 5th, November 5th, we have nothing, so we don't know what was said to her.
You're referring to this probation officer's interview where they tell him stuff. Where is the report with that? Was there ever a report with her probation officer written?
No, just the phone call that we've got on the 5th. That's the only one that I'm aware of that we've got.
So you have this probation officer saying Jodi has information for you, and you're constantly harassing Jodi, but yet you make no report of what. Was there ever even a call then? We don't even know.
Nope. And Wiegert didn't write a report for this interview right here that they're in right now, which is, I don't know, I think it's weird that he didn't, because this is, at least a couple hours, they probably had to spend with it in total. The interview is 47 minutes alone. So
there's
anyway.
no actual report for this from anybody who was also.
Well, there's Fastbender's probably got maybe has a report that I don't know if I don't think I have it pulled up here.
I know there's still
pending,
like not available yet or whatever.
I've got a couple of I've got at least I've got 2 DCI reports we're going to look at. One of them I know is definitely not the one from Fastbender about this. The other one I can't remember. I think it's for the October interview that they had with her. So
can I just make a couple of
comments?
Hey,
Doc, what the? Hey, man.
It's okay.
I tried my best. I've been listening for a while. I tried my best to keep my mouth shut, but I just have to come on and just express it. Just to give a couple of things. The thing which is disturbing here, and let's don't mince around, right? Jody Stakowski was in prison on October the 31st, right? So the investigators knew that she was not on the property, right? She was in prison. She was in prison prior to and during and after the alleged murder of Teresa Hallbach. There is absolutely no way that she can provide any useful information to the investigators, right? She wasn't there. So what they're trying to do is actually conjure up scenarios that don't exist, right?
Other
and
acts.
I agree with, yep,
Other
correct.
Acts. Yep.
And let me remind everyone, that's exactly what Ken Kratz tried to do by introducing every nefarious event that Stephen was involved in. He tried to bring that into the court. Remember Jack 61? He wrote a big list of all the things that Stephen had done in his past, and the judge threw it out. Now, what they're doing is they're targeting the most vulnerable person of the lot, Jody. Jody was Stephen's fiancée. Jody had spoken to him twice on October the 31st, and that spooked the investigators, right? So now what they're trying to do is to get Jody to admit that she was a sexually abused domestic violence victim, which is exactly what they wanted from Jody. Because then, did you hear what Fassbender said? That fuck, we can use those things in court.
That's right.
So wait a minute. They are using his own fiancée to say nefarious things against Stephen and to use it in a court of law.
That's right.
That's exactly what they're trying to solicit from Jody. And notice all the veiled threats that they're giving to her. Oh, you told your probation officer this. Is the probation officer lying? So in other words, they're gaslighting her that she would break down and admit all these things that Stephen did. But if you notice, guys, Jody was the one who instigated most of the violence. She did.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
she'd get drunk. She'd get drunk and get mad as hell.
And my final point is, what was Stephen's number one concern for Jody?
Drinking.
The fact that she was always drunk, driving. Yep, correct. And not only that, she was in prison all the time. And Stephen had a civil lawsuit against the MTSO. And guess where Jody was?
That's right.
Come on. It's a clusterfuck of monumental proportions. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And that's what they've been trying to do this, the entire year, basically. They've been after her basically to cough up some kind of shit that they could use in court against Stephen. And that's exactly what Fassbender just admitted to. He spit it out.
Correct. Now, the disturbing thing is this, right? Why would we have to show evidence to Jody if they arrested Stephen for murder, right? Jody isn't part of any murder scenario, right? That's for a court of law to decide, look at the forensic evidence in front of a judge, in front of a jury. So their aim is to flip Jody, right?
Yeah.
To say something really nasty against Stephen, right? So to me, it tells me one thing. They are not confident of their own forensic evidence against Stephen. That's what it's saying to me.
Yeah, Doc, I'm not a lawyer. As Big Jeff says, you get what you pay for. But to me, this is, I don't know if it's witness tampering, but to me, it almost is. Because they're really trying to create a witness out of her.
Well, the thing is, sorry, Jack's one. If she's sitting next to her attorney, surely the job of an attorney is to prevent the harassment of your own client.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
Fassbender and Weaker. It is open season. It's like they are piranhas and she's actively bleeding and that they are going for her, hammer and tongs, and the lawyer never says, hey guys, shut the fuck up. My client is walking out of here.
That's
Not
right.
once.
Not one time.
Where did you find this lawyer?
That's a good
Don't
question.
know,
I don't know.
But
From
String
Kratz's
and Beauty
office.
paid for him, or Stephen paid for it.
Did he?
Well, at least,
For the lawyer?
well, yeah, at least at some point there, because we just read that. Well, it was in the earlier report. I don't know if it's this lawyer, but it very well could be that, he paid for some kind of services. I don't know if this guy maybe is a different one and a public defender. I don't really know for sure, but
At this point, she doesn't seem to care for Stephen. That's why I'm wondering, why would he?
That's right after they broke up. Yeah.
Why would he continue for a lawyer for her?
But Jody's in a no-win situation.
she is.
If she stands up for Stephen, they're gonna hammer her, right? If she says one good thing about Stephen, oh, you're defending a killer now, are you? Oh, what do you really know, Jody, etc., etc. So now she's saying negative things against Stephen, and they're still hammering her for information that she does not have. Notice, Fassbender and Wiegert did the same thing to Brendan. And they even said to her, you're lying to us, you're withholding information.
That's right.
That poor lady knows nothing. She knows nothing about what happened.
They both, Wigger and Fassbender both said it multiple times to her. You're lying. You're withholding. You're changing your story. But then finally,
Correct.
there at that right out here at the 20-minute mark, Fassbender finally admits, hey, other acts. And that's exactly what they were after, because they knew that she wasn't there.
Yep.
So you can see what their motivation was all along. They weren't there to help Jody. They were there to extract something that they could use in their report to make Jody, like I said, and fancy asking her about her sexual act, private sexual activity between her and Stephen.
Yeah, it's just too far.
No shame.
But if it worked out, and I'm not saying that it ever would, because I think they could see there was a real risk in trying to put her on the stand. And I don't know what conversations. They had conversations with Kratz and Fallon and Gone about getting her on the stand. But I think they recognized that there was a real risk that could blow up in their face. And it's the reason she was never called, right? Right, Doc?
She only was called in Brendan's trial,
correct,
to talk about the arrangement of the furniture, because that they were really worried and concerned about that. But just another quick point: the questioning that Fassbender and Wiegert are saying, asking all these intimate questions, that's exactly what Ken Kratz did to a young female.
He did
in the presence of her mother.
That's right,
and her mother complained that the questions were highly inappropriate and embarrassing. Fuck me, these two dickheads did the same thing to Jody.
Yeah. Sure did.
Oh my God, it's all making sense now. They're all from the same school. They're all cut from the same cloth.
Absolutely. And, there are other things going on in the case that we all eye roll at. God, I just thought of something else, but it doesn't matter. Anyway.
I have a question. Like,
yeah.
Being that Wiegert and Fassbender are just the lead investigators on this case, is it actually Kratz sending them in to talk to Jody with these questions? Because he was the face of the case, right? Like, he's the one who told them to go back and talk to Brendan because they didn't have enough. So he's the one who keeps sending them to Jody, basically.
That would be directed by Kratz. There's not. They are the lieutenants. Kratz, he's the circus master, right?
Yeah.
He not. Remember, what did Mr. Kratz go for in court? This is a sexual deviant crime. Sexual deviant crime. He lured Teresa Hallbach, etc. So they're wanting to find out. Well,
fantasy.
Was this?
He's living out kind of in this space, right?
That's right.
Yes. Was there sexual tension between Jody and Stephen? Did Stephen want sex from somewhere else because Jody was in prison? And they even asked her, when he takes you to Alcohol Anonymous or wherever it was, did you two do a quickie when you were together? It's none of their fucking business what they did together.
He says somebody told him that. That is just such bullshit.
The probation officer who supposedly told him this and that and this and that, and she denies it.
And more fishing, Susan. That's exactly what they're doing. Throwing the line out to see what they get.
Yep.
And you know what? This is all in the perverted, sick mind of Ken Kratz. And I wonder why he went down that road, right, guys?
Well,
must have been all that Ambien and Vicodin and all those drugs he started taking when he was made
Correct.
Prosecutor of this case.
He gets off on it.
Yeah, no, it's not good. And remember, he admitted that he has a sexual addiction. So what on earth is he doing a case like this? You got to be kidding.
Oh, he's just salivating over it, I'm sure.
It's a made-up case. He totally fabricated all of it.
Yeah. Anyway, be sure to check out the rest of that recording if you're interested and see how far they go. To me, they tampered with her from the beginning. I mean, literally we don't know what was said on November 5th, but basically from then on, they tampered with her. They messed with her constantly, because now we're up to the one we're fixing to read is my number. This is number 19. We've got a few more to go, and she was as much a part of this case or more than anybody else, and she had absolutely nothing to do with it. Anyway, so
Jack 61. Before you continue, I know this is going to stir up Mystic Jinx, right? But notice the way they questioned Jody, right? Your relationship with Stephen. Notice that Ryan Hilligus never sustained this type of questioning about his past relationship, sexual or otherwise, with Teresa Hallbach. Not once. Mr. Jinx, you have any comments?
I have to say, neither was Scott Bladorn, who was given a tip that he was sleeping with his roommate, which would have been Teresa, by the other guy she was supposedly sleeping with. They never followed up on any of that either, but yet they're doing it for Stephen.
Correct. Good point.
Yeah, they did it multiple times too. I mean, she keeps repeating the same shit over and over, and
should have been doing it for those other men in her life, not just them two, but Brad, Tom Pierce, her parents. Maybe not about the sex, but just looking into anything like they did with Jody.
That's right. I agree.
Asking the hard questions. What was going on in Teresa's life? How was she acting on the 30th when she was over at your house? Did she seem off? Did when you saw her in front of the computer, what time of day was it, Ryan?
Correct. And the interesting thing is, all gloves and bets were off when it came to Jodi, correct? They didn't care what type of embarrassing questions they asked her, yet none of those other guys, Ryan, Scott, Brad, none of them were subjected to this line of questioning and embarrassing questioning.
No.
You have to ask yourself why. Why?
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. That's another really great point in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely
Because they
pick
knew
up.
if they asked those questions of those guys, it would lead away from Stephen Avery.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, be sure to listen to the rest of the recording. It's interesting, and there's like I think probably 26, 27 minutes more of it to go. Anyway, yeah, let's move on to this next one. It's 3 pages, and this is Sandra Barth, as was just mentioned in this interview. Apparently, clearly, they went and talked to her after they did this interview with Jodi. So, Susan, you feel like reading this?
Sure, I will. And the redactions in here are all Tiffany, so I'm just going to read Tiffany where the redactions are.
That's fine.
That's Jodi's daughter. Interview of Sandra Barth in Manitowoc, 9/13/06 by Mark Wiegert. On 9/13/06, I, Wiegert of Calumet County, along with DCI Special Agent Tom Fassbender, went to the address of Sandra Barth. Sandra would be the mother of Jody Stakowski. Upon arrival at the residence, Sandra invited us in. We had a seat at the kitchen table. While speaking with Sandra, she indicated to us she had legal custody of Jody's child, Tiffany, who would be such and such years old.
I think she's
Sandra
12.
stated,
I think she's 12.
12 years old. Sandra stated they had stopped letting Tiffany go over by Jodi and Stephen Avery's residence because Tiffany did not like going there and actually hated Stephen. According to Sandra, Jodi was in a very abusive situation when she was living with Stephen Avery. Sandra told us about one incident that Jodi had told her about. Yeah, there you go again. Jodi had informed Sandra, hearsay, that Stephen had beaten Jodi up several times in front of Tiffany. Sandra states Jodi told her one time that Jodi and her daughter Tiffany had to lock themselves in the bathroom inside of Stephen's trailer because they thought that Stephen was pouring gas around the trailer to light it on fire. Sandra states on other occasions when Tiffany was supposed to go over by Stephen and Jodi, she would start to cry because she did not want to go over there. Sandra stated when she or her husband would call over to talk to Jodi, they would have to go through Stephen first before they were allowed to talk with Jodi. Sandra stated Stephen would always screen the phone calls. Sandra also told us Stephen at one point had threatened to take Tiffany away from them and put her in a foster home. Sandra stated she was told when these things would happen over at his residence, Stephen would have been drinking when he would get abusive like this.
No.
Stephen is not a drinker.
Stephen didn't drink.
Jesus. Sandra then went and retrieved a letter which Tiffany had written to her and her husband. The following would be a transcript of the letter. Dear Grandma and Papa, I love you and Papa with all my heart, and I hope nothing happens to you or Papa, and I hope nothing happens to you or Papa, and I'm sorry that on Mother's Day weekend I went with my mom because all they did was fight, fight, and fight. I didn't really have any fun because Steve made me stay in the trailer for one day because I was really hyper and I was playing cards with Barbara's boys. Goodness, I hate Steve Avery. I wish he would go to prison. Oh my goodness. It should be noted a copy of that letter will be included with this report. I asked Sandra when I asked Sandra. You have a comment, Doc?
I'm going back to the JFK case. I can't handle this bullshit anymore.
Oh my God, I'm going with you.
Oh, God. I asked Sandra when she would have gotten that letter. She said she believes it would have been right before Jody had gone to jail in May of 05. Sandra stated Jody had told her one other time about Stephen getting abusive with her. Jody told Sandra she had gone to the races and Stephen was supposed to be up north. According to Sandra, Jody had come home and was getting a drink of water and saw Stephen's reflection in the window, at which time he grabbed her by the hair and pulled her outside into the car. When Sandra last spoke to Jody, which was just recently, Jody had told her that Stephen had threatened several times to kill her, meaning Jody. Jody also told Sandra that she had a lot more stuff to tell the investigators, but she did not want to until she got her stuff out of Stephen's trailer. Jody also told Sandra on many occasions that Stephen could kill Jody and nobody would miss her. Jody also told her mom, Sandra, that Stephen had used handcuffs on her in a sexual way. God, she's a liar, isn't she?
Oh my
Sandra
God.
then told us that
I
on
thought
one
they got
occasion,
those cups after she was
After.
already in jail.
Yep, sure did. Sandra then told us that on one occasion she had to testify against Jody in her operating while intoxicated trial. Sandra states she was very scared of Stephen at that time because of the look he was giving her. She stated she was so afraid that she had her door opener and her phone in her hand when she walked out of the courthouse. She stated Stephen and Brendan Dassey were walking in and out of the courthouse and giving her evil looks.
Brendan was there with them giving
Brendan?
evil looks.
What the fuck? We asked Sandra how Jody got to know Stephen. Sandra states Jody's friend, Michelle, was friends with Raleigh Johnson, who lived in the trailer, which Stephen eventually moved into. Jody got to know Raleigh through her friend Michelle, and after Jody had gotten kicked out of her house, Raleigh allowed her to move into the trailer on the Avery property. According to Sandra, at that time, Stephen was still living in the ice shanty, and they met when they were living on the Avery property. I asked Sandra if Jody had ever mentioned working at a gas station, to which Sandra stated Jody never worked at a gas station that she was aware of. Sandra also went back into the time when she had to testify against Jody. She states after the trial was over, Jody told her, Stephen, Barb Yonda, and Brendan Dassey all had a story and were going to lie for Jody about her driving. Sandra indicated that if we wanted more information, we might want to talk to Michelle Mueller, who would be Jody's only friend. That was the end of our conversation with Sandra. Investigation continues. Mark Wiegert.
Boy, oh boy.
Jesus.
That's got some whoppers in it. Stephen doesn't drink.
Yeah.
Sounds like she was describing her own daughter's behaviors when she drinks.
Uh-huh.
Also, I noted that she supposedly talks about the time that she got dragged out of the house by her hair. There was no mention of her being choked, like she said.
Nope.
Right? It was just
Nope.
she went to get a drink of water, and he grabbed her by the hair and pulled her out and put her in the truck. No choking.
And the last time she spoke to Jody, she told her that Stephen threatened to kill her several times.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell that came from either.
That's
right?
A note from the daughter. I hate Stephen Avery. He made me stay in my room because I was being hyper and playing with Barb's toys. That's why I hate. How old was her daughter at the time?
12,
like
I 11, think.
12?
11 or 12, yeah, I think so. She was a kid.
Of course she hates Stephen Avery if he's punishing her because she's acting out and she can't go with boys.
Before I forget to mention it, Jinx found that on that interview on September 13th, 2006, Jinx found DCI Report 295 is Fassbender's report on that. So there is a report, and I will include it.
There's also a report about him making phone contact with this woman as well. I didn't grab that number, but it is in there. It's like right down below it, I think.
Okay, I'll see it. I'll grab it when I make the correction. There's another report we're going to get to here in a minute, but first we've got this interview of Michelle Mueller Alice, you feel like reading this one?
Yeah, sure. Interview of Michelle R. Muller, date of birth 4/21/71. And then the address and the telephone number, date 9/21/06, by Liger. On 9/21/06 at approximately 10:53 a.m., I, Investigator Liger of Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with DCI Special Agent Tom Aspender, went to the address of 4352 Hartford, Wisconsin, to interview Michelle Muller. We arrived at approximately 10:53 a.m. and were invited into the house by Michelle. It should be noted, Michelle would be the friend of Jody Stakowski, Stephen Avery's girlfriend. Michelle states she has known Jody since they were school age. According to Michelle, she introduced Jody to Rolly Johnston, who actually owned the trailer Stephen Avery was living in. Michelle states when Jody moved into the trailer, that is how Jody met Stephen. Stephen was living in an ice shanty on the Avery property at the time. Shortly after Jody met Steve moved into the trailer with Jody in approximately 2003. Michelle said Jody had told her that when Jody, first met Stephen, he wanted sex all the time. Jody also told Michelle that Stephen had tied Jody up in bed. Jody told Michelle on several occasions that after they would get done having sex, they would seem to always have a fight and Stephen would beat Jody up. Jody also told Michelle that Stephen had choked her, Jody, on a few occasions to the point where Jody passed out. Michelle stated to me Rolly Johnston was aware of the abuse because Jody had told Rolly about it. Jody had actually called Rolly on one occasion and Rolly had come to the residence to speak with Stephen about beating Jody up. According to Michelle, Jody had bruises on her that Rolly had seen. It would have been the same weekend that Stephen allegedly had sex with his niece Marie. Michelle estimated Jody had gotten beaten up at least 3 times a week. I asked Michelle how she knew about it. She stated Jody would call her and tell her about it, which stated Jody was working at a company when she was living with Stephen. Stephen had gotten jealous of Jody's boss, and Stephen had actually showed up at Jody's place of employment and threatened the boss. After Stephen had shown up at Jody's place of employment, she had gotten fired because of Stephen's threats to the boss. Fucking hell, they like fucking spreading it out, don't they? Michelle went on to tell me when she would call over by Jody, Stephen would get very upset. Michelle stated Stephen told her on one occasion that if she were to call and talk to Jody anymore, Stephen would find her and kill her. Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Michelle states this would have been in July or August 2004. I write, when Stephen told her this, Michelle stated that every time she would call Jody's phone, Stephen would answer the phone and she, a lot of the times, would just hang up. Michelle told us Jody also told her they had sex a lot. Jody also told Michelle that if she did not want to have sex with Stephen would take it. Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Jody also told Michelle she would get sore from having sex so often with Stephen, but that didn't matter to him and he would still want to do it. We asked Michelle about Brendan's relationship with Stephen and Jody. Michelle stated Brendan would come over to the trailer a lot and that actually would upset Jody because Brendan was over at the trailer all the time. Michelle went on to tell us how Stephen and Brendan would go into the salvage yard at night and steal radiators. Jodi told Michelle that they would scrape the numbers off the radiators, and Stephen and Brendan would then take the radiators and cash them into a metal dealer for money. Michelle went on to tell us how Jodi told her that Stephen was planning to blow up Jodi's mother's house.
Oh, dear God.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, I mean that's not funny, but it fucking is funny because this is so ridiculous. It is unbelievable. Jodi told Michelle he was either going to blow it up or set it on fire. We thanked Michelle for her cooperation and urged her to call us if she could think of anything she had not already told us. That was the end of our conversation with Michelle. We ended our interview at 11:30 a.m. Investigation continues. Oh
Wow.
my God, man. What a
Jesus.
fucking
So,
pile.
so Jodi's mom says that Stephen was gonna set his trailer on fire with Jodi in it, and Michelle says he was gonna set Jodi's mom's trailer on fire.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
What a bunch of bullshit.
It is a bunch of bullshit, Susan. The amount of shit that they've tried to dredge up now, the bit like we've talked before. If that's Jodi's best pal, she's probably said something along the lines of, "Oh my God, he keeps wanting to have sex with me all the time" and everything like that. And she probably enjoyed it as well, but she made a flippant comment about being sore and things like that. And they have taken it and they have twisted it into something that it's fucking not. And this is the whole problem with this whole case, is that they keep turning mountains into fucking molehills. Or molehills into mountains.
I'm suspicious of the date on this because of all the questions they asked Jodi on the 13th that seemed to have come out of this interview.
I saw that. I noticed it right away.
This supposedly is after that, 8 days later.
Yep. I'm suspicious too. Speaking of that, this next interview is recorded. I'm not going to play it. It's in the library. We've got it. So, this is a one-page report. And there's a reference there that I put in. It says DCI report 297. It's actually 298, which I do have. And I have another report as well. We're going to take a quick peek at. We're not going to read it. And you'll see why here in a minute. But this is a telephone conversation with Jodi at 10/13 in 2006. And this is reported by Wiegert. On 10/13/2006 at 11:38 a.m., investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department received a telephone call from Jodi Stachowski. Jodi stated that she forgot to tell Special Agent Fassbender and me a few things when we were over with her. Jodi stated she remembers when she had met Stephen that she was seeing a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Sue or C.Q. I'm probably saying that wrong, butchered it. Through the Manitowoc County Department of Human Services. She stated shortly after starting to date Stephen, he, meaning Stephen, made Jodi stop seeing the psychiatrist. Jodi stated that Stephen told her she should quit going to the psychiatrist because anything you tell the psychiatrist, they can later use against you in court. Jodi stated that she forgot to tell us about the incident when she ended up in the hospital after eating rat poison. She stated she tried to commit suicide by eating rat poison, and Stephen had taken her to the Holy Family Hospital in Manitowoc. She stated this happened in September of 2004. I asked Jodi why she had taken that rat poison, to which she stated that she tried to kill herself because she found out about Stephen and his niece Marie. When they got to the hospital, Stephen lied to the hospital staff and told them Jody mistakenly had drank out of a Coke can that had rat poison in it. According to Jody, Stephen did not want the hospital staff to know she had tried to commit suicide. Jody had also asked me while on the phone if we had anybody following her home from work yesterday. I told Jody we did not have anybody following her home and we would have no reason to do that. She states that after her work yesterday, there was a Ford SUV, possibly an Xterra, following her all the way from work back to where she lives. I again assured Jody it was not anybody related to our department or this investigation and informed her that should it happen again, she should contact the local law enforcement in that jurisdiction. I thank Jody for her phone call, and that was the end of our conversation. Investigation continues. Mark Weir.
Maybe it was Teresa's real killer just watching her.
Yeah, that's
You
interesting.
never know.
This interview is Jody's dad. Susan, you want to read this one? It's just 2 pages.
Sure. That's number 22.
That's right. This is the last one that I extracted from the case investigative report.
Interview of Eugene A. Barth, date of birth 3/5/47, from Manitowoc, by Dettering, on Tuesday, January 30th of 07. This is right before the trial starts. At 10:45, Investigator Baldwin and myself, Dettering, did interview the following individual at his residence, Eugene A. Barth. Barth is the stepfather of Jody Stakowski, previously mentioned in this incident. Investigator Wiegert had received a telephone call from Stakowski indicating her stepfather may have some information regarding goings-on at Avery Auto Salvage area on 10/31/05. In speaking with Barth, he indicated a co-worker named David Trice, currently incarcerated at Columbia Correctional Facility for operating while intoxicated charges, had told Barth, quote-unquote, some time ago, a female Trice knows, stated to him, here we go again, there was, quote-unquote, more to the story regarding the Halbach-Avery situation. Barth believes this involves the individual who struck his girlfriend in the face with a hatchet. According to Barth, Trice had talked about a female who had gone to the Averys for some reason, possibly to pick up parts for a vehicle, a friend, or some children. According to Barth, Trice had made the comment to him that, quote, they were out there and there was more going on than was coming out, end quote. Barth did advise us Trice was aware of the fact that Jody Stakowski was living with Stephen Avery at the time this discussion took place. Barth had nothing further to add to this investigation. Investigation continues. John Dettering.
Yeah, isn't it amazing this comes up, basically a week, 10 days before trial, whatever the hell.
Yeah. Uh-huh. They were out there and there was more going on than was coming out.
Yeah. What the hell, man? And as you can see, this is page 1053 in a 1,117-page report. So, okay. This is... Yeah, that's not the one I wanted. Do I have the other one open? I thought I did. Oh, I don't. It's 298, though. 297. 298 is the one that goes with September or this other interview on 10/11. This interview here is of Tiffany. This is Marie's daughter. We're not gonna read it. I just want to point out there is a DCI report on it, and it's 297. I will include it in the rest of the records that are going to be in that folder. If anybody wants to read it, that's fine. And with that, I have one final thing to show you, and it's pretty much going to list everything we've looked at. And I'm talking about from where we started Sunday night. Let me turn this off. And I'll get this other one up. And it's basically just the dates and so forth of all these different interviews. Yeah, okay. Okay, come on, cooperate with me. Now let's try. There we go. Now it's going to pop in there. And as you can see, I basically made a listing of the dates and which department. And this is not, there's a few in here that are not included that we've talked about. But as you can see, this list.
Good God.
That's right. This is what really caught my eye when I started looking at it. This is the interactions either with Teresa, or not Teresa, but with Jodi, and or somebody that knows Jodi that's close to her, like her mother, her stepfather, various other, her friends, people, her cellmates. It's an extensive list, and how many times they talked to her and what was said to her and what they tried to get her to do. I don't know. I just thought it was just a little important part of the case that needed further examination. So that's it. And yeah.
Who else have you looked to see how many times they talked to anyone else? Is she like the most talked to person in this whole case?
I think she is. I have not isolated anyone else. No, I have not.
Interesting.
And I don't know how many's in this list here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23. There's at least 23 incidents I've listed there, and there's actually more than that. And as I said,
I was just going to that, Jack, 23. And if that's just on Jodi, they spoke to her 23 fucking times.
Well,
asking very stupid questions.
Yeah,
and trying to get.
It's either to her or to someone that's close to her. That's right.
Yeah. To try and get, well, did Jodi talk to you about this? Did Jodi mention anything about this? And this is why you've got all these people. I mean, this whole case is hearsay. Oh, Jodi's cellmate said this. Jodi's pal Michelle said this. Jodi's pal fucking Fanny Adams for down the road said this. You know what I mean? It is not anything specific. Stephen Avery said this. You know what I mean? Jodi said this. It's
They talked to her 23 times or about her to her closest friends and soulmates.
At least. There's actually more than that. She's actually mentioned, as I said the other night,
who was in jail when this incident happened, and they talked to Ryan twice, with Scott both times.
Yeah. She's mentioned, her name is mentioned 517 times in the investigator report.
Jesus Christ.
Crazy. How many times was Teresa Halbach mentioned?
Well, I haven't done a word count search on her, but I dare say it would.
How many did you say it was for her? I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna look for that later.
517 times, I think it was.
For Jody Stakowski, 500 and what? 73. You
said 17.
17.
Yeah.
wow.
Nuts. And that's just in the queso alone. That's not even in the DCI stuff.
No, that's not. No, that's just queso. I pulled up the queso report on the foul play site, typed in Jodi, boom, 517.
Some of them are Castle on DCI. So
yeah, I don't know how many times she's mentioned in the DCI reports because we don't have all of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought it was a neat little project, especially considering that she did not testify at all in Stephen's trial. You put to that whatever you want. But I think that with how they talked to her and the things that they did along the way, starting back in November, it really got amplified after the first year when Debbie came along. And that first interview, February 15th, 2006, and they played the calls for Debbie, or played the calls for Jodi. You just need to know what's going on. I don't know.
Deb, Jack.
Deb, I'm sorry. My bad.
Question.
Yeah.
They had a report. What was it? Do you still have that list up? I don't have that open. No. They talked to her in what? April or something of 2006, and then they don't talk to her for like 4 months, right? Like till like September. Is that correct?
I'll put the list back up. The last they talked to her in February or in April, and then it went to August.
And when did Len Kaczynski actually get taken off?
August.
Case.
August.
So what happened was they basically got Brendan after 227. They only talked to her one time after that. But then Brendan's lawyer, Len Kaczynski, basically fucks up and Brendan fires him because he basically let him talk to his, these people on the 13th by himself. And he gets thrown off the case. So then they start going after Jodi again, it seems like. Because they knew at that time that when Len Kaczynski was gone, that he was not going to make no fucking deal. Okay? So they needed somebody in court that's going to point to Stephen as a sexual deviant. Yep. Remember, they didn't take those charges off until what, mid-trial, because they couldn't get Brendan to testify, and they obviously couldn't get her to incriminate him as being a sexual deviant either. And that's what I think this is about. All of a sudden, they're back in her business because Brendan basically fired Len, who was the public defender meant to make the deal.
That's right. That's exactly.
With the state.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point, Jinx.
There's actually a couple of dates in here that I left out of this list. I know there's one on 4/4. There might be one more in April. I mean, they're not major, but there's a couple I've left out. Okay. All right. So any other comments anybody wants to? Let's have at them before we get out of here.
I didn't realize that Kaczynski was with Brendan that long, till August.
Well, they denied getting rid of him at first. Like he couldn't.
He couldn't
express the words he needed to get rid of him. Yeah. So it was like, oh, it's no big deal, blah blah blah.
He did express the words. He says, I think he thinks I'm guilty.
Or was that the second time when they actually threw him off the case? Because I remember him having a hard time, like, telling the judge why he did not want him on the case. And then
they both like cats and
meow.
I think it was the 26th of August, I think, when Fox finally removed him.
Wow, I didn't realize he was there that long. Poor Brendan.
Yeah, he absolutely he destroyed the case. He just destroyed it, and Fox let.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Because O'Kelly was in May, right?
O'Kelly?
May 12th, 13th, or whatever weekend that was.
Oh, yeah, that was May. Yeah. That was May 12th. That the O'Kelly.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the 13th was the interview, or the another interview, where Klaus wanted his clean confession, which he didn't get.
The reason why he got thrown off the case. Because
but not only that, you've also got to remember that in Illusion of Justice and that Jerry Butin has also said that he had a word with Kaczynski and told Kaczynski that the lawyer that Brendan had before Kaczynski joined dismissed one of his, I don't know if it was a
Preliminary
preliminary
hearing. He denied it. Yeah.
Told him, actually told Kaczynski, look, he just pushed that aside. You need to get that way, you know, you need to put that forward. And what did Kaczynski say to him? I'll think about it. You've got another colleague in your profession telling you that another colleague has dismissed this preliminary, which Brendan was entitled to, and never
cousin.
And I want to make a mention of Ralph Stakowski, because he dismisses himself because he's a cousin to Teresa Halbach. But I want to mention that he was also representing Jody at some point in November or December of 2005, that you see him leave the case in the WCCA if you look up her case files. So I have a very hard time believing that he only just found out in March that he was related to Teresa Halbach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always found that hard to believe, personally.
Especially when he removed himself from what's her face's case. I don't know why he was removed, but he was on her case until I think it was late November, early December 2005.
Jody's case.
Ralph Stakowski was her lawyer.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure that I knew that either, now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just don't see how, as much as it had been in the news, that Ralph wouldn't have known that he was related to the Halbachs in some capacity. But yeah, I don't know, the preliminary hearing thing. If he'd have had a decent lawyer, yeah, that would have been a really good thing for Brenda to have. With Kaczynski, yeah, I don't know. It could have done more damage. But yeah, it was August before. I mean, it was all, you know, it was over 2 months later. That was May, June, July. Yeah, it was actually 3 months now that I'm thinking about it. And I can't remember if it was the 26th. It was sometime in August that he got thrown off, got his ass thrown out. And I think he got suspended for 4 months. He lost his bar card, couldn't practice. I think that's right. He should have never been able to.
A whopping 4 months, just like Kratz got a whole 4 months after he sexually harassed victim.
Well, the truth is that Kratz should have been dinged on that too, because he's the one who approved that meeting without Kaczynski. Now, I don't care how many faxes Kaczynski sent to say, oh, it's okay. No, dude, it's not okay. He's represented by counsel. You have to be there. Either that or Brendan has to fire you because Kelly's not a lawyer. What a mess. Anyway.
Yeah, but the fact that Jerry Butin even pulled him aside, you know what I mean? Because I reckon that if Jerry wasn't on Stephen's side, he would have jumped on Brendan's case.
Probably.
To be honest.
Okay, so he was put in her for her lawyer. He was entered into her case on 11/22/05, and on 12/8/05, he was gone. He withdrew.
Ralph. Interesting.
Yeah.
From Jody's case. So after he was arrested, after Stephen was arrested, Ralph became her lawyer. And 2 weeks later, he was gone, and then Roberta Ann Hex became her lawyer.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, folks. We've covered it. We've hit right about 3 hours, so I think it's a good time to wrap it up. Folks have to work tomorrow. It's late as hell for Alice. I don't know. It's probably 3 a.m. for her. So we try to get her in bed before 5 a.m. if we can.
So tomorrow is Brendan's 33rd birthday.
Everybody wish Brendan a big happy birthday to Brendan.
Happy birthday, Brendan.
Well, check out Brendan Talks. I know there was some things happening for Brendan's birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know there's the Facebook group.
Yeah, Yeah,
And there's also, I'm not sure if it's, banners, doing a banner and wishing them a happy birthday, or a video and that, doing happy birthday, things like that. But anything that you want to do for Brendan for his birthday tomorrow, make a wee video, do a poster and take a picture of the poster or whatever. Go to the Facebook group, put it on the Facebook group, or go to Brendan's Discord and put it in the Discord group, and Becca will get it, and she will, if it's a picture or whatever, or a message, she will print them off and she will send them to Brendan. So whatever you can do, send Brendan a wee message for his birthday and show him the love and the support. And thanks to everybody in chat for joining us. As we've said before, we couldn't be here. We wouldn't be here without you all. So thank you very much to each and every one of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Becca said she's going to have her talk in the morning. She normally does one on Wednesday. So I know had said earlier that she's going to be having that. And I actually saw her notification. So I saw that earlier as well. So yeah, try to join Becca in the morning and for that, and wish Brendan a happy 33rd birthday. With that said, hold on a second here. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that's found this as interesting as I do. Segue into the case. I don't know. I don't know what all it means from a legal standpoint. I do have real issues with this many times as they went after her, and being a potential. I mean, she did testify at Brendan's trial. I dare say that Fremgen and Edelston did not know how many times the cops had been in her ass talking to her, and I don't know. I just see this as something different now. It's changed my thinking, not terribly much, but in the sense that law enforcement can go after a single person that many times to try to get them to flip. It's so manipulative, and I almost think it's tampering, but that's just me. I'm not a lawyer, so. With that said, probably, let me first say that got Brendan's talks in the morning, and then Crime Theory Exchange is at 12 Central tomorrow. Christina will be on with a new podcast. And then I guess the next thing up would be Reading with the Crew on Saturday, continuing on with...
Did you mention CTE?
I did.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yep.
I was
and
distracted.
That's okay. And then Sunday, I think for this coming Sunday's open mic, we're going to get back into the depositions that we haven't visited in a while. I've been talking to Jeff Jones and Big Jeff, and I told them that it was probably coming unless something happens between now and Sunday. I think that's the direction I'm leaning to, because I want to get back into them and get some more of those laid out and talked about. Some good information there as well. With that said, I want to give a big thank you to Andy B for his continued work and his doing the audio for us on these different recordings and cleaning them up and making them really, really good. Our super mods, everybody in chat, everybody in Discord, thanks for coming. And hey, if you like what we do, give us a like and a subscribe, share the video. And, if you have suggestions for a topic that's case related, hey, let us know. And even sometimes, we don't do it too often, but sometimes that are not necessarily the Avery Dassey case. We've covered others as well. And if it's something that's of interest to the community, hey, let us know, and we can take a look at it. With that said, we're going to get out of here. And I will say, this has been a Foul Play production.